Chapter 96. In the center of the cave stood a person. His entire body was shrouded in a black robe. His stature was extremely tall, but the black cloak and the black mask covered every inch of his skin. Yuyu's green skull was held in his hands. Beside him stood a woman. She was an extremely beautiful woman. She had a head full of blood-red hair. Her black eyes revealed a faint cold arrogance. Her aura was so cold. Her devilish figure was unable to be covered by the black robe. Only when her gaze fell on Yuyu would her eyes reveal a trace of gentleness. The woman spoke, "Ping Chao, you did well this time. Not only did you protect the young lord well, you also helped her catch a dark witch. I think it's time to help you enter the Count realm." Ping Chao's body shook. His eyes revealed an unconcealable excitement. With a plop, he knelt on the ground. His upper body prostrated on the ground. His voice trembled as he said, "Your Majesty, The woman snorted and said, "Enough. I just want you to know that as long as you work for me and the Demon Lord, we won't treat you unfairly. You only have one mission. As my servant, you only need to protect Yuyu. If she suffers any harm, then there's no need for you to exist. What I value is your loyalty. Otherwise, you wouldn't be where you are today." "Yes, Your Majesty. Even if I have to give up my life, Ping Chao will protect the young lord well. I won't let you and the Demon Lord down." Count, as a servant of the vampires, was originally unattainable. However, as a servant of the Vampire Queen, it was different. Yuyu giggled and suddenly jumped on Ping Chao's back. "Mom, don't you think I've grown taller?" "Mom, Ping Chao Gij is very good. Don't scold him." The woman's face revealed a trace of a smile. "Yuyu, good girl. You're not short anymore, Yuyu. In the future, you're not allowed to run around casually. Be careful of encountering danger. After all, there are many among those sanctimonious humans that you can't deal with." Yuyu jumped on Ping Chao's back. "Mom, I know. Don't scold me. Yuyu is very smart." At this moment, the person shrouded in black, who had been in a calm state all this time, opened his mouth. A cold and deep voice sounded from behind the black mask. "Yuyu, this time, you have indeed done very well. Sina, do you know what our daughter brought home?" Sina said in surprise. "Evil Lord, didn't Yuyu bring back the energy shards of a dark one who practiced dark witchcraft?" The Evil Lord shook his head and said, "Of course not. Although the fragments were also valuable, compared to what Yuyu brought back, it was too far away. Although I don't know why this dark witch has become so weak, I am sure that Yuyu has brought back a real dark witch. Perhaps he is even an old friend of ours." The surprise in Sina's eyes grew. Suddenly, she giggled and said seductively, "That means our daughter is really lucky. Dark witches are indeed good stuff." Evil Lord said indifferently, "Ping Chao, you should bring Yuyu down first. Yuyu, if you only brought back the energy shards of a dark witch, it would be very suitable to be the soul of your demonic weapon. However, you brought back a dark witch. It would be too wasteful to just use it as the soul of your demonic weapon." Yuyu pouted and said, "I don't care. Dad, you can't snatch my things." Evil Lord said indifferently, "You are my daughter. Although this dark witch can't be a part of your demonic weapon, he can be your protector. An absolutely loyal protector. You should go down first. After I have settled everything, I will naturally give him to you in another form. The effect of a dark witch is not something you can imagine. Go." Although Yuyu had some doubts, she didn't dare to disobey her father's orders. She could only jump down from Ping Chao's back and follow him out of the cave. Looking at Yuyu leaving, the Evil Lord said coldly, "Let me see if the space is the friend I imagined it to be. The darkness that shines forever. Listen to my orders and release it in the overjoyed abyss. With my soul as the foundation, release it." A circle of green light suddenly emitted from the skull in his hand. The skull in the Evil Lord's hand seemed to have come to life. The entire cave was turned black by this green light, forming a solid enchantment. If a high-ranked human magician were to see this scene, he would definitely be so shocked that he couldn't close his mouth. Because this was a 10th step defensive spell with a simplified incantation. How powerful would a person who could use a 10th step dark spell so easily be? It was definitely not something a dark archmage could compare to. Vampire Queen Sina seemed to have long been used to the evil lord's power. She smiled and said, let us see." The black-gloved right hand of the evil lord shot out like a bolt of lightning and tapped on the eyes of the green skull. With a mournful shriek, a black mist floated out from the green skull. Without any hesitation, as soon as the black fog appeared, it immediately escaped with the fastest speed. The evil lord didn't move, and Sina also didn't move. The black fog collided with the layer of green light and bounced back. Once again, it let out a miserable scream. Compared to the previous one, it was much weaker. The evil lord's cold and deep voice sounded, "I advise you to be honest. Even if you are just a soul, you won't be able to escape from me. Not to mention that the dark witch still has a body. It's just that it doesn't have a form." Safin's shocked and angry voice sounded, "Who are you? Since we are of the same path, why are you making things difficult for me?" The evil lord coldly said, "If my guess isn't wrong, you should be one of the 4 dark archmages of the 8 dark demons, right? Who are you? Dark demon? Evil blood? Dark demon? Or soul oracle?" Safin had lived for thousands of years after all. Hearing the evil lord's words, he gradually calmed down. He asked doubtfully, "How do you know that I am one of the 8 dark demons? Who are you? Your aura is hidden very deeply. With my current energy I can't sense it. Back then, the 8 of you caused such a huge ruckus. It's a pity that the heroic Emperor Kurobutsu ended up being destroyed by the Divine Seal. If my guess isn't wrong, you should be the most cunning soul oracle. You actually turned into a lich and escaped the calamity. I really should admire you. According to what my subordinate and daughter said, I think you should be sealed in that abyss. It was already not easy for you to escape. In your era I was nothing. Perhaps you wouldn't even look at me. However, thousands of years have passed. This world no longer belongs to you. Soul Oracle Safin, look carefully." A layer of dark green aura spread out from the evil lord's body. It shrouded everything in the surroundings. The black robe disappeared, and an exceptionally handsome middle-aged man appeared in front of Safin. His skin was so white that there wasn't a trace of blood. However, he had a pair of dark green eyes. There were no eyeballs in his eyes, only 2 dark green flames that were constantly pulsating. The flames gradually turned from green to dark red. The eyes formed by the dark red flames looked so sinister. "Lich, you actually cultivated into a lich? No, this is impossible, this is definitely impossible." Safin's voice was filled with shock. He really couldn't imagine that his dream had been realized by someone else. In the past, he was extremely close to becoming a lich. He was very clear about how difficult it was to cultivate into a lich. It wasn't something that could be done in a day, 2 days, or even a year or 2. Evil Lord Ling laughed, the red light in his eyes receding. "It's very strange, isn't it? It's strange that a human like me could live for so many years, and even become a lich. It's a pity that this is my secret and I can't tell you. You only need to know how powerful I am. Now I will give you 2 choices. The first is to pledge your loyalty to me by cursing your soul. The second is to become a soul in my daughter's demonic artifact and become a nether wizard. You should be clear about the difference between these 2 situations. You don't need me to teach you how to choose, do you?" Safin hatefully said, "So what if you're a lich? If not for the sudden descent of the divine restriction, I would have already cultivated into a lich. You're just a bit luckier than me. You want me to submit? That's impossible. At worst, I'll just choose to self-destruct. It's better than becoming a servant." Evil Lord indifferently said, "Then you can try. In front of me, I'm afraid that even death is a luxury for you. You're already weakened to such a degree. It's too easy for me to deal with you. If you're willing to submit to me, not only can I help you recover your original strength, I can also give you a certain amount of freedom. As a lich, my goals are very ambitious. I need someone to help me achieve them. How about this? I'll let you see some things. Then you can choose whether to submit to me or not. As a Dark One, I believe that our goals shouldn't be too far apart. A green hexagram instantly appeared in front of the evil lord. As the light flickered, 3 black bottles gradually appeared from the green hexagram. Each bottle was over a foot tall. There were extremely complicated patterns carved on the bottles. Because the patterns were very detailed, if one didn't pay close attention, it would be very difficult to distinguish them. The 3 identical bottles had a circle of dark green gems embedded in the center of the bottle. The gems weren't big, and the distance between 2 gems was about an inch to the left. The entire bottle looked a little gloomy because it was black, and there wasn't any place for the ether pearl. However, the appearance of the bottle immediately caused Safin to cry out in shock. This is Jorda's bottle of sealing? Why is it in your hands? Back then, wasn't this the bottle that those fellows used to seal the kingdom of the deceased husband? Evil Lord coldly said, "That's right. This is Miorda's bottle of sealing. There should be a total of 7 bottles in this bottle. With the power of 10 stars, they form the strongest seal. Back then, with the power of the gods, the kingdom of the deceased husband was sealed in another space. Those so-called gods had consumed too much energy, and most of them were in a deep sleep. Until now, they still haven't woken up. Unfortunately, they made a mistake. The king of the lost country, at the last moment of being sealed, used his own life as the price to brand his curse on the 7 Miorda's bottle of sealing. The curse was very simple, and it wasn't enough to destroy the seal. Because at that time, the king of the lost country was already unable to contend against the gods. However, he used his own life to save the lost country, leaving behind a final chance. The curse on the 7 Miorda's bottle of sealing was very simple. That was, these 10 bottles could never leave the Yangon continent. Only in this way would they have a chance. After all, the Yangon continent wasn't like the godly continent. Anything could happen. Before the gods entered a deep sleep, they specially ordered the powerful dragon god to be in charge of guarding these 7 bottles. The dragon god sent the dragon king to guard the 10 Miorda's bottle of sealing. I think you should have heard of this story. In our previous era, there was no one who didn't want to find these 10 bottles and break the seal of the lost country. Snort snorted. Of course, before the king of the lost country used the curse to self-destruct, he said that if anyone could break the seal and return to the Yangon continent, then that person would become the new master of the lost country. However, how could the 7 dragon kings be easy to deal with? Each of them was stronger than the other. At that time, the 7 dragon kings tried to provoke the 7 dragon kings, but only the Emperor Kurobutsu could defeat the Dragon King. We were too weak and were forced to retreat by the 7 dragon kings. At that time, the Emperor Kurobutsu severely injured the strongest of the 7 dragon kings, the Dark Dragon King Kagakosis, which became the reason why we were destroyed by the gods. Unfortunately, the Emperor Kurobutsu's strength was still a little weak. If we could defeat Kagakosis before the other dragon kings could help us, maybe we would have succeeded. Humph, don't think that you can do anything just because you got 3 bottles. Miorda's bottle of sealing needs to be merged with the 7 bottles to be effective. Although I don't know how you got these 7 bottles, I am sure that you must have attracted the attention of the dragons. Do you think this is a good thing? Although you have chosen to become a lich, it is not like there have never been a lich in history. I think your strength is at most comparable to a dark warrior at his peak. I don't believe that you can defeat the 7 dragon kings by yourself. The evil lord calmly listened to Snort and waved his hand. The 3 bottles disappeared at the same time. Yes, no matter how conceited I am not conceited enough to think that I can defeat the 7 dragon kings at the same time. But now there is a very good opportunity. As long as we make good use of this opportunity, we might be able to achieve our goal. According to what I know, the Ice Dragon King is training alone, but he alone is not enough to pose a threat to me, so my next target is him. However, although I can easily defeat him, I may not be able to capture or kill him, so I need more powerful Dark Lords to help me. To deal with the 7 Dragon Kings, I have to deal with them separately. Every time there is one less, their strength will be weakened by a bit. Snort said curiously, I want to know, what is the opportunity you are talking about? Is there a weakness in the 7 Dragon Kings? The Evil Lord said indifferently. Of course there is. The strongest among the 7 Dragon Kings are undoubtedly the Dark Dragon King Kageyoshi and the Light Dragon King Demanteti. The two of them can be said to be the leaders of the 7 Dragon Kings. As long as they are here, the 7 Dragon Kings will be indestructible. However, the Light Dragon King will enter the weakest state in her life. She is about to give birth. And at this time, the Dark Dragon King will definitely be by her side at all times. The two of them will also be guarding 2 bottles of Mudas. So, if I want to deal with them, I will definitely choose the few days when the Light Dragon King is giving birth. At that time, as long as I gather all the forces under me, it is very likely that I will be able to get 2 bottles of Mudas's sealing bottles in one go. I might even be able to severely injure a few Dragon Kings. That's why I need your help. The stronger the help, the higher my chances of success. Once I get 7 bottles of Mudas's sealing bottles, this world will be mine in the future. Not only the Yangon continent but also the godly mainland. Safin sneered. You're right, but the 7 Dragon Kings aren't fools. Don't tell me that when the Light Dragon King is giving birth, they will not invite other dragons to guard them? The Evil Lord said, Of course, but as far as I know, only the weakest of the 7 Dragon Kings, the Space Dragon King Caudillus, is helping them protect them. Even if there are 1 or 2 Dragon Kings, this operation will not be cancelled. Once the crystallization of the Light Dragon King and the Dark Dragon King is born, who knows what kind of monster dragon it will be. As long as the 7 Dragon Kings use their own dragon power to make it grow quickly, I will be able to snatch Mudas's sealing bottles in the future. I will have to face another powerful enemy, and the 7 Dragon Kings will become the 8th Dragon King. There will be no chance to snatch the bottles. Snort's heart was moved. The lich in front of him was indeed ambitious. If he could really become the ruler of this world, so what if he submitted to him? Thinking of this, Snort hesitated for a moment, then continued to ask, Then are you not afraid that the 7 Dragon Kings will gather at the Dark Dragon King's side? If that is the case, even if the 6 Dragon Kings work together, we will not be their match. The Evil Lord said indifferently, I have already thought of this point, but that will not happen. The gathering of the 7 Dragon Kings will only happen at a critical moment. Not long ago, I sent people to secretly follow them and found out that they had a gathering at the Snowy Mountain. But only 5 of the 7 Dragon Kings came, and a lot of unpleasantness happened between them. Although I was afraid of being discovered by them, I was far away and couldn't hear their conversation. But judging from the situation at that time, the Fire Dragon King, Garamandes, seemed to have been angered by the Dark Dragon King, Katiriosis, and the Space Dragon King was forced by the Dark Dragon King to go with the couple. Simply analyzing, among the 7 Dragon Kings, the Fire Dragon King, Garamandes, and the Dark Dragon King, Katiriosis, were once love rivals. Therefore, it is almost impossible for Garamandes to help Katiriosis protect his wife. You and I both understand that the only way to deal with love rivals is through modern warfare, and that is to completely destroy the other party. I believe. Even if he is a dragon, Garamandes must have such negative emotions in his heart. He was right. Garamandes did have negative emotions in his heart. How could he not hate Katiriosis when his beloved Demanteti was snatched away? Unfortunately, the Evil Lord neglected one thing. He neglected the love that the Fire Dragon King, Garamandes, had for the Light Dragon King, Demanteti. When love is higher than hate, the choice is often the opposite. After pausing for a moment, the evil lord continued, "The Ice Dragon King didn't even participate in the Dragon King's gathering because of his seclusion. As long as we don't make a move on him first, he shouldn't have the opportunity to help the Light and Dark Dragon Kings. And the Wind Dragon King's mission is to protect those white people, so he won't appear. The Earth Dragon King is famous among the 7 Dragon Kings for being lazy and gluttonous. We don't even know where he is sleeping. Therefore, we only have to face 3 Dragon Kings, no, only 2 Dragon Kings. I am almost 100% sure about this. What we have to guard against is the Dark Dragon King's possible outburst because he is protecting his wife." Safin thought for a moment and said, "So, the chances are still very high. However, you are still too weak after all. Besides, why should I believe that you can completely open the seal after obtaining the 7 sealing bottles of Mordas? You should know that even with the 7 bottles, opening the seal won't be that easy." The evil lord smiled. The strong evil aura made the weak Safin shiver. The black fog condensed continuously. "If I didn't have a foolproof plan, do you think I would make a move against the 7 Dragon Kings? As early as 1,000 years ago, when I just entered the Lich domain, I had already started to arrange everything. Sina, show me your power." The Vampire Queen, who had been quietly listening all this while, let out a charming laugh. Her body instantly released a layer of dark red airflow, and with a turn of her graceful body, a pair of small dark red wings appeared on her back. At the same time, her pair of demonic eyes instantly turned golden. There weren't many changes to her body, but the dark aura emitted by the evil lord was forcibly forced to the side. Safin was shocked again. "Red wings, golden eyes, you are the Vampire Queen? Heavens! So there are still so many of our kind in the Yangon continent. It seems that those so-called gods are in trouble." He was very clear that a prince-rank vampire was a powerful existence on the same level as the Dark Witch. Not to mention the evil lord, he might not even be able to deal with this vampire queen. The evil lord said indifferently, "Sina is my wife and also my subordinate. In order to open the sealing bottles of Mordas, after 1,000 years of nurturing, we finally gave birth to the demon enchantress. There are only 2 ways to open the sealing bottles of Mordas. One is to use the blood of the divine saintess to open it. The other is to use the blood of the demon enchantress. You've already seen her. That's our daughter Yu. When the time comes, I only need 7 drops of her blood essence, and I'm completely confident in opening Morda's sealing bottle. At the same time, the dark magic power I've cultivated over the years is something you can't imagine." Safin knew that it was time for him to make a choice. The evil lord had said so much to him. If he couldn't give him a satisfactory answer, he would be destroyed. They would probably be destroyed soon, facing the Lich and the Vampire Queen. He didn't have a sliver of hope in his heart. "All right, since it is to pursue the great dark cause, what's wrong with me being your subordinate? There are no promises in the dark world, only benefit. I believe that as long as I am still useful, you will treat me well. Dark Witch Safin is willing to serve you." The evil lord's eyes glowed red. His goal was to truly subdue the Dark Witch in front of him. Although he had cultivated many powerful subordinates over the years, other than his wife Sina, none of them had reached the Lich's level. He needed strong people from the dark world. "All right, Safin. Welcome to join us. My name is Evil Moon. You can call me the Evil Lord or the Moon Lord. Now you know what you should do." There were no promises in the dark world, and there was no trust. Only a curse oath could trust Safin's determination. Safin hesitated. In order to survive, in order to see the greatness of the dark world, he submitted. The black fog gradually turned purple. Gradually, he offered up his soul. The entire cave was filled with a dense dark aura, and the strong aura filled every corner. One could only vaguely see the red in Evilmoon's eyes, the gold in Sina's eyes, and the purple light emitted by Dark Witch Safin. Nian Bing floated to the ground and looked at the tall courtyard wall in front of him. He sighed in his heart and tried hard to recall his memories of this place. Now, what he hoped most was that nothing had changed here. He was tall, and in the contrast of his golden red robe, he looked especially handsome, especially the noble aura that faintly leaked out. The fire lion embroidery on his chest was unusually mighty. Prince Rong's residence was heavily guarded, and it was almost impossible for outsiders to break in. However, there were only 2 guards at the entrance of the residence. The 2 guards' expressions were very calm, and they only wore ordinary soldiers' clothes. They didn't even have armor, but there was a large word embroidered on their chests, and a small green lion emblem on their left shoulders. Nian Bing recalled his father's description. The Flaming Lion Knights were not only strong in overall combat, but also in individual combat. Like the Silver Feather Knights, the most basic combat strength was the level of a beginner swordsman. The Silver Feather Knights were differentiated by the color of the feathers on their helmets, and the Order of the Flaming Lion was differentiated by the color of the lion embroidery on their shoulders. From the lowest to the highest, the embroidery was white, green, yellow, red, and gold. Among them, the White Lion represented the Battle Knights of the Order of the Flaming Lion, which was the level of a beginner swordsman. As for the Indigo Lion symbol, it meant that the knight was at least a great swordsman. As for the Golden Lion symbol, it meant that the knight was at least a great swordsman. As for the Golden Lion Knights, they were the backbone of the Flaming Lion Knight group. They had the strength of a martial artist. Other than the leaders of the Rong family, only 8 people had been given the highest Golden Lion symbol. Among them, 5 were also martial artists. They were martial artists of the MCMAU. The Demonic Lion Squadron, led by the 5 of them, had super strong combat abilities. At the same time, they were also the guards of the Flaming Lion Mage group under Prince Rong. The 3 Golden Lion Knights were the younger brothers of Swordsman and Prince Rong, who were also magisters. They were the 5 vice-commanders of the Lion Knights. Apart from the royal courts of various countries, perhaps only Prince Rong could use a high-level swordsman to guard the door. A few days ago, when the Hwarong Empire and the Kairu Empire joined forces to attack the Ottoman Empire, Prince Rong sent 3 of his 5 vice-commanders to lead 5,000 men of the Order of the Flaming Lion to rendezvous with the Northern Army. This deterred the powerful enemy, the Longmu Empire, from making any rash moves. Nian Bing tidied her clothes and strode towards the door, as if she didn't see the 2 guards. Seeing her approach, the 2 Green Lion guards hurriedly bowed respectfully and didn't stop her. Nian Bing secretly let out a sigh of relief. After passing the first test, it would be much easier to enter. She carefully controlled her mana and strode into her former home. Prince Rong's residence occupied an extremely large area. Just like the imperial family of the Hwarong Empire, it was a city within a city. Night fell, and the lights in the residence weren't very bright. Looking at the familiar scenery, Nian Bing's emotions surged. He had once again returned to his former home, but this time using an impersonation method. Her father's handsome and benevolent face constantly lingered in her mind. Not daring to stay for too long, Nian Bing quickly walked towards his goal. He had already adjusted his mental strength. As long as he firmly remembered what he needed, this trip wouldn't be in vain. "Rong Bing, did you just go out?" A surprised voice sounded. Nian Bing's entire body shook. Of course he knew that Rong Bing was his brother's name. He stopped and maintained his composure. Looking in the direction of the voice, he saw an old man walking towards him. He knew this person. He had a somewhat gloomy face, a tall figure, and a pair of bright eyes. Apart from looking a bit older than before, there weren't many changes. Back then, he was one of the people who disliked her father the most. Forcefully suppressing the anger in his heart, Nian Bing bowed and said, "Greetings to third grandfather. Are you going out?" This old man was Prince Rong's third brother, Rong Fei, a fire archmage. Rong Fei laughed and said, "I am going out to find someone to play chess with. This has always been your third grandfather's hobby." What? You seem to have forgotten. Is it because Enoch has been bothering you lately? Nian Bing smiled awkwardly and said, Third grandfather is making fun of me. I was just about to go to the study to read. If you want to play chess, I won't disturb you. Chapter 97. Rong Fei patted Nian Bing's shoulder and said with a smile, Boy, work hard. A few days ago, Big Brother said that you have entered the realm of magic shooter. Grandpa is really happy for you. Among the younger generation, you are the most promising one. Third Grandpa supports you. In a few days, the new magician competition will begin. You have to work hard. I heard that the Ice God Tower sent a genius of the younger generation this time. I think she is called Qianhuan Bingyun. If you can beat her, I think your grandfather will be very happy. Nian Bing agreed submissively, for fear that Rong Fei would see a flaw. After all, although he looked like Rong Bing, there were still some differences. For acquaintances, as long as they looked carefully, they would be able to recognize him. Fortunately, because it was dark, Rong Fei did not say anything more. He walked out of the prince's mansion and looked for someone to play chess. After Rong Fei left, Nian Bing found that his back was soaked in cold sweat. Once Rong Fei discovered his identity, it would be difficult for him to escape in this Prince Rong's mansion, which was full of hidden dragons and crouching tigers. After leaving for more than 10 years, the memory of his childhood was, after all, a little blurry. Nian Bing looked for the path while speeding up his memory of this mansion when he was young. His memory, which was much stronger than ordinary people, played a crucial role. After half an hour of searching, he finally found his destination. His luck was good. Apart from meeting Rong Fei, he only met a few patrolling guards and some servants along the way. Those people all thought that he was Rong Bing, so naturally, no one stopped him. The tall and spacious study was in an independent courtyard. There were all kinds of strange flowers and plants in the courtyard. There was only a narrow path leading to the 4 big houses in the center of the courtyard. As soon as he approached the courtyard, Nian Bing's spiritual power warned him. He quickly used his spiritual power to search around. At the very least, there were more than 10 hidden guards in this courtyard. Nian Bing knew that she was the only one who had discovered this place. There were probably many others who had not discovered this place. The study was an important place in Prince Rong's residence. Other than Prince Rong's family, outsiders could only enter with the warrant issued by Prince Rong himself. No one stopped him from entering the courtyard where the study was located. However, Nian Bing could clearly feel that there was a spiritual fluctuation in the dark sentry post. Could it be that they had detected it? He shouldn't be a human, right? Since he's already here. He had no way of retreating. He calmly walked towards the study. There was a red hexagram on the door of the study. Nian Bing knew that her biggest test was coming. The guards couldn't recognize her, but if she wanted to enter the study, she had to pass the last test, which was the test of the magic array. This magic array didn't recognize people. Only those who knew how to open an account could enter. Nian Bing had known this for a long time, but he still came. This was because he was very confident in his knowledge of magic arrays. He stood in front of the door, ignoring the hidden sentry post. His spiritual power was completely focused. Like a sharp knife, he directly stabbed into the magic array. In an instant, he felt his whole body heat up. It was as if he saw countless magic symbols flying around him. Each symbol was filled with the aura of fire. Ling Nianbing was shocked by the complex structure of the magic array. However, although he was shocked, he did not panic. He quickly sorted out the clues of the magic array. Resisting the waves of heat, he activated the aura in his body and felt the subtle changes in the magic array. When he finally found the core of the magic array, he understood what kind of magic array it was. The core of the magic array was the most important component, which was the eye of the magic array. It turned out to be a drop of blood. He didn't need to deliberately ask anything. He guessed that this was the blood of his grandfather, Prince Rong. And the effect of this magic array was that the magician used this drop of blood to detect the identity of the visitor. What could be more accurate than a note? After discovering this, Nian Bing knew that he didn't need to find any way to open the magic array. Without any hesitation, he reached out and touched the center of the red hexagram. The red light instantly shone brightly. Nian Bing only felt his whole body heat up. The next moment, he had already entered the study. What a good magic array! It combined the three functions of investigation, attack, and teleportation. It seemed that his choice to secretly read the magic book was completely correct. Outside the study, two guards were talking. Dark Guard 1 said, "Brother, I didn't see wrongly just now, right? Before, why did I remember that the young prince had already gone in? Why did he change his clothes and come back from outside? Could it be that I saw wrongly?" Dark Guard 1 said, "No, it's not wrongly. I also saw it. However, you also know Little Five's temper. Moreover, the study is an important place in our Prince Rong's residence. There might be some mystery inside. Maybe the young prince used the teleportation array to go out and then changed his clothes and came back. Anyway, it's the young prince. Besides, other than the prince's blood relatives, outsiders won't be recognized by the magic array. Don't worry too much. Pay attention to the surroundings. Although there might not be anyone who dares to come here to make trouble, we still have to do our duty." Entering the study, the smell of paper hit his face. When Yen Bing was young, he came here once under his father's lead. However, he didn't have any memories of that time. The several rooms in the study were completely connected. There were also some elementary magic books here. They were all accumulated by the Rong family over many years. Therefore, they were deliberately connected. The rows of tall bookshelves made Nian Bing's heart itch. These were all treasures that could help him improve his strength. He jumped to the front of the bookshelf and began to check the names of the books on the bookshelf to find what he needed. "Hey, who came in? It's rare for someone to come here to read." A cold voice came from behind the bookshelf on the far left. Nian Bing, who had just found a top-level fire magic spell, couldn't help but freeze. At this time, how could there still be someone in the study? The first thing he did was to put the magic book into his space ring, then quickly gather his magic power. Who was here? Nian Bing didn't have any fear at this time. After all, he was able to enter the study, so he wasn't afraid of being recognized. As long as the other person treated him as his brother, even if they read together, the other person might not be able to see through him. Thinking of this, he calmed himself down and walked towards the bookshelf on the left. He calmly said, "It's me. Who is still reading here at this time?" Footsteps sounded. Nian Bing and that unknown person walked towards the same direction at the same time. When Nian Bing turned a corner, a tall figure appeared in front of him. In an instant, Nian Bing and the other person were stunned at the same time. Their minds fell into a blank. The two of them looked at each other, and neither of them said a word. The same height, similar appearance, and temperament made them feel like they were facing a mirror. If it wasn't for the different color of their clothes, they might have thought that they were hallucinating. Standing in front of Nian Bing, it was a young man in white. The same. On the left side of his chest, there was a golden lion pattern. The two of them looked at each other, and from the initial sluggishness, it gradually turned into surprise. "Who are you?" the two of them asked at the same time. When Nian Bing asked the two words, he had already come to his senses. He never thought that he would meet his brother in this kind of situation. Rong Bing's eyes flashed, and a murderous aura was revealed. The light of the flames instantly rose from his body. With a wave of his left hand, a fireball appeared on his chest. A strange thing happened. The fireball turned into a big hand. In an instant it clawed at Nian Bing's face. Nian Bing's reaction was not slow. The same red light shone from his body. After a flash of fire, the study returned to normal. A bitter smile appeared on his face. "Don't doubt my face. I'm not wearing a mask. Brother, we haven't seen each other for 12 years. Have you forgotten Nian Bing? Rong Bing's body shook. He said involuntarily, You are Nian Bing? Looking up and down at the young man in front of him who was very similar to him, his heart trembled. Nian Bing knew that there was no need to hide now. Otherwise, he would not be able to leave the study. Since he had already met, he could only choose to face it. He nodded slowly. Brother, yes, I'm back. So many years have passed. Are you all right? His heart trembled slightly. He tried his best to suppress his excitement. A trace of tears flashed through Rong Bing's eyes. He suddenly stepped forward and opened his arms. Nian Bing also opened his arms and hugged his brother. The two brothers felt each other's surging heartbeat at the same time. After a long while, Rong Bing let go of his hands. He grabbed Nian Bing's shoulders and carefully looked at him. Rong Bing smiled. Good boy, you and I are still so alike. Now, even our heights are about the same. Where's Uncle Tian? Did Uncle Tian come back with you? It's really great that you came back. Stinky boy, you must have come in pretending to be me, right? Nian Bing shook his head sadly. Brother, father didn't come back. He won't come back either. From that hug just now, Nian Bing knew that his brother's feelings for him had not changed. Perhaps the Rong family's increase in price would make him and his father become traitors and fugitive, but he firmly believed that his brother would not. This was a kind of blind trust, a trust that came from his intuition. Rong Bing's eyes shone brightly. Nian Bing, what do you mean? Could it be that Uncle Tian? Nian Bing nodded and said, I think you know what happened to my parents. In order to save my mother from the Ice God Tower, 8 years ago, my father took me to the Ice God Tower without hesitation. But in the end, I was the only one who escaped. 8 years, my father and mother have been dead for 8 years. Speaking up to this point, his eyes turned red. Tears flowed down his face. The feelings that he had suppressed for many years finally couldn't be held back in front of his family. His body trembled as his tears fell. The atmosphere in the study was filled with sadness. Rong Min looked at Nian Bing in a daze. Although Nian Bing only gave a simple narration, he could feel how much his younger brother had suffered these years. How did he live without his parents? After being independent for so many years, Nian Bing had learned to be strong. She wiped the tears from her face, looked at Rong Bing and said, Brother, I won't hide it from you. Today, I came here just to peek at the magic books in the study. I didn't expect to meet you. It seems that everything is predestined. Don't worry, I won't make things difficult for you. If you still see me as your younger brother, don't stop me from leaving, okay? No. Rong Bing grabbed Nian Bing's arm. Nian Bing, how can you just leave like this? You are a member of the Rong family. This is your home. Don't go anywhere. Nian Bing smiled bitterly. Home? Who would still think that my father and I are members of the Rong family? Even if there is, I'm afraid it's only you and Uncle. Brother, I don't want to bring you any trouble. Rong Bing held Nian Bing's hand tightly and said, Perhaps no one recognizes you now. Yes, one day, I will let everyone know that you are my younger brother, a member of the Rong family. Hearing Rong Bing's resolute voice, the historical figure in Nian Bing's eyes disappeared a little. Brother, do you mean that Prince Rong has already confirmed Uncle Yu as his successor? Ever since Nian Bing was kicked out of the Rong family, he didn't have a grandfather in his heart. He only remembered his grandfather as being strict and not kind. He still remembered how his father angrily scolded him and his father. Since the day he left the Rong family, he didn't admit that he was a member of the Rong family, nor did he admit that Prince Rong was his grandfather. Prince Rong's successor had always been a mystery. After all, whether it was Prince Rong himself or his 2 younger brothers, they all had a lot of sons, and there was no lack of outstanding ones. How could it be easy to choose a successor from among them? Rong Bing nodded and said, 2 years ago, my father had already decided that when he passed away, my father would inherit the position of prince. My father often said that his talent was actually not as good as Uncle Tian's. If Uncle Tian was still alive. Nian Bing stopped Rong Bing from continuing. Brother, it's all over now. Congratulate Uncle for me. Don't tell anyone that I came here, okay? Rong Bing's eyes showed a trace of sadness. Nian Bing, are you really leaving? My father's position in the family is very high now. Uncle Tian has already passed away. Maybe if I suggest to my father, he will allow you to come back. After all, the blood of the Rong family flows in you. Just stay. Nian Bing smiled, and a cold light flashed through his eyes. Brother, you have to understand that I don't need anyone's charity. Even if I stay, what can I do? Will I still be ostracized like before? I won't stay. However, one day I will prove everything with my own ability. I will make my grandfather regret. I will definitely take revenge for my parents. Rong Bing let go of Nian Bing's hand. He knew that Nian Bing was right. Even if Prince Rong agreed to let Nian Bing come back, he would definitely be the least valued among the family's children and grandchildren. He would only be ostracized. Looking straight into Nian Bing's eyes, Rong Bing said calmly, Nian Bing, ever since you left, I changed to wearing white clothes because I remember that you like white clothes. Today you came here wearing red clothes. Although you pretended to be me and entered the mansion, I know that you didn't forget about me, your brother. I don't want to say anything else. I just want to tell you that I still remember the promise we made when we were young. Nian Bing's body trembled. He couldn't hold back his tears again, and hugged his brother. Rong Bing's words warmed his heart. He knew that nothing had changed when he was young. Everything was so real. After a long time, Rong Bing pushed Nian Bing away. Little brother, you have to remember that if you want to take revenge for Uncle Tian and Aunt, you have to be strong. As long as you need it, I will definitely help you. Nian Bing took a deep breath as a faint smile appeared on his face. Brother, I will remember your words. You will always be my good brother. I have to go. If someone comes to the library again, I won't be able to leave. Wait a minute. Rong Bing stopped Nian Bing, who was about to leave. He quickly walked behind the bookshelf and took out a thick book and handed it to Nian Bing. These are my notes from the Magic Research Institute. Perhaps they will be of some use to you. Nian Bing, what kind of books do you want to read this time? Nian Bing stared blankly for a moment, but he still accepted his brother's kindness. He took out the book from his space ring and handed it to Rong Bing. I originally wanted to find some high-level magic incantations and books about ancient magic arrays. Rong Bing nodded. Since you don't want to reveal your identity, then you can leave first. Tell me where you live. I will come to find you in a few days. Nian Bing told his address and put away the thick book. He left the library under Rong Bing's escort. Out of the study, breathing in the night air, Nian Bing suddenly felt very relaxed. His repressed feelings seemed to have disappeared in his brother's embrace. Rong Bing's words warmed his heart greatly, letting him know that in this world, there were still family members who truly cared about him. Slowly walking out, feeling the warmth in his chest, Nian Bing's hidden cold heart gradually melted. Little prince, you are here. I guessed you were in the study. Great, the prince asked me to find you. Please come with me. Nian Bing looked up and saw a red lion warrior standing in front of him, looking at him with a smile. It couldn't be so coincidental, could it? Was this good luck or bad luck? This red lion warrior looked to be in his 40s, and seemed to be very familiar with Rong Bing. Without waiting for Nian Bing to answer, he pulled him into the depths of the mansion. Prince Rong summoned him. If it was his brother, there was no reason not to go. Prince Rong was the head of the entire Rong family. No one dared to disobey his orders. Nian Bing's originally relaxed heart tensed up again. As he walked, he thought about how to deal with Prince Rong. Right now, he only hoped that Prince Rong was old and blind and couldn't tell that he wasn't Rong Bing. Soon, the Red Lion warrior brought Nian Bing to a large building. Nian Bing recognized that this was the main building of the prince's mansion, and also Prince Rong's study. It was also the most important military base in the Huarong Empire. Countless strategic decisions were made here. Alright, little prince, you can go in by yourself. I'll be leaving first. The prince doesn't seem to be in a good mood today. You should be careful. After saying this, the Red Lion warrior winked at Nian Bing, then turned and left. Standing outside Prince Rong's study, Nian Bing was momentarily stunned. Go in? Or not? He hadn't seen him for more than 10 years. Should he really go in? At this moment, he had already forgotten about his own safety. All he could think about was his family and hatred. Just as Nian Bing was hesitating, a vigorous and deep voice came from the room. Is that Bing-er? Why aren't you coming in? Do you want Grandpa to invite you in? As an outstanding magician, it's very important to have a strong mind. You seem to be very nervous. Did you make a mistake recently? It was him. It had been a long time since she heard his voice. When Nian Bing heard it again, she couldn't help but feel excited. Prince Rong's voice didn't have the sternness she remembered from her childhood. His voice seemed to drill into her mind, and every word was shocking. She pushed open the door and entered. The room was brightly lit, and the decoration was very simple. Other than a few pots of green plants, there was only a table and a chair. An old man in a fiery red magician's robe sat behind a large desk. His hair and beard were snowy white. Although he was sitting there, she could still feel that his tall figure exuded an extraordinary aura. His black eyes were filled with a deep light, and there was no trace of the filthy yellow of an ordinary old man. Feeling that cold gaze, Nian Bing subconsciously lowered her head. After a moment of hesitation, she said respectfully, "Grandpa, why did you call me here?" Prince Rong looked at his grandson standing in front of the desk, and his eyes flashed a few times. Suddenly, he seemed to have realized something, and a strange look appeared in his eyes. However, it only lasted for a moment before it disappeared. He said indifferently, "Bing-er, take a seat first." "Yes, Grandpa," Nian Bing said emotionlessly, and walked to a chair beside the desk and sat down. Prince Rong said, "Bing-er, don't you usually like to wear white? Why did you change to red today?" Nian Bing's heartbeat quickened, but she understood that in front of a strong man like Prince Rong, if there was a flaw in her heart, she would be easily recognized. She hurriedly adjusted her mental strength and tried to relax her body. Then she replied, "It's too monotonous to wear white all the time, so I changed to red today. I remember that you like red the most, don't you?" A rare smile appeared on Prince Rong's face. The gold-trimmed red magician robe on his body shook slightly, and a trace of sadness appeared in his deep eyes. "Red is really good. It symbolizes the fire we have, and at the same time, it also symbolizes passion, unrestrained and vitality. Bing-er, you are the most outstanding person in the younger generation of the Rong family. You have reached the realm of Archmage before the age of 20. Of course, this has something to do with the help of your family, but your own efforts are the most important. Today, I called you here because I have a few things to ask you." Nian Bing nodded and said, "Please ask, Grandpa." Prince Rong said indifferently, "I got the news. This time, the magicians sent by the Ice God Tower to participate in the new magician competition are very outstanding. What do you think?" In an instant, Nian Bing's eyes burned with strong confidence. "No matter how strong the dwarves are, I have no reason to lose." "It's that simple?" Prince Rong's eyes showed a trace of dignity. Nian Bing didn't answer, but nodded firmly. Indeed, in his heart there was no longer any thought of failure. "Good. As expected of my grandson." Prince Rong nodded with a meaningful look in his eyes. At this time, Nian Bing's mind had gradually calmed down. She raised her head and looked at Prince Rong. This time, she saw her grandfather, whom she hadn't seen for 12 years. The first feeling she had was that he was old. After 12 years, the originally white beard and hair had become snow-white. Although Prince Rong's eyes were still so sharp, the wrinkles on his face couldn't hide the traces left by the vicissitudes of life. Grandpa was old. "Well, Bing-er, I like the look in your eyes now. I haven't seen you for a few days, But your mental strength seems to have improved a lot. Nian Bing smiled faintly and said, "It's all because of Grandpa's teachings." Prince Rong said, "The reason I called you here today is not only to ask about your attitude towards the competition, but also to pass on an item to you. I hope you can wear it to participate in this year's great magic tournament. However, to get it, you have to pass my test." Nian Bing was stunned for a moment and said, "Test? Grandpa, don't you know my strength? There's no need for a test." Although Nian Bing was confident that she had the strength of a magic shooter, she was after all not a pure fire mage. If she really went against Prince Rong, who was a powerful mage, she was afraid that she would be exposed easily. Prince Rong shook his head and said, "No, if you want to get this thing, of course you have to pass the test. I've taught you since you were young that in this world, there is no such thing as a free lunch. Come with me." After he finished speaking, he lightly pressed on a spot on the desk. With a creaking sound, the place where Nian Bing was originally standing in front of the desk cracked open a half-foot wide fissure. Limestone stairs led deep into the ground. Seeing this secret tunnel, Nian Bing sighed in her heart. If she didn't pretend to be an older brother, she was afraid that she would never know the secret of Prince Rong's residence. Prince Rong walked out from behind the desk. He was slightly shorter than Nian Bing, but when he passed by in front of Nian Bing, he was like a towering mountain, giving off a strong pressure to Nian Bing. Ever since she fought with the Feng people's elder Feng Kong, Nian Bing was no longer afraid of archmages. She wasn't afraid of Prince Rong's strength, but at this time, she was most afraid of revealing her identity. Prince Rong walked down the stairs, and Nian Bing could only bite the bullet and follow. The stairs were very long, and wherever Prince Rong went, two flame-like lamps would light up on both sides of the wall. Prince Rong didn't say anything, and Nian Bing also didn't say anything. As the saying goes, the more you speak, the more likely you will make mistake. Although her voice was very similar to Rong Bing's, there were still minute differences. After descending about 100 meters, there were no more stairs. Prince Rong brought Nian Bing along a long and narrow tunnel into the depths of the darkness. Nian Bing controlled her breathing and emotions, constantly thinking about how to deal with the situation that she was about to face. Finally, they reached the end of the tunnel. This was a spacious hall. The hall was about 50 feet tall, and the sides were about 100 feet long. The entire hall was built with hard stones. Nian Bing took a deep breath. How many people were needed to build this kind of underground hall? Moreover, she felt the aura of magic in this hall. Without a doubt, there was definitely an extremely strong magic seal here. It was a seal filled with oppression. In this hall, the flow of magic elements was very slow. Although the air wasn't suffocating, as a magician, Nian Bing felt a trace of oppression. You should be very clear about the situation here. When you first started practicing magic, you spent 3 years here. It was those 3 years that gave you a good foundation. Although the magic elements here are thin, under the effect of the magic array, the magic elements are very uniform and pure, without any impurities outside. Come, let me see your strength. Prince Rong walked to the center of the hall and stopped. Under his feet was a giant red hexagram with a diameter of 30 feet. Nian Bing looked at Prince Rong. He didn't know how to attack. Was he really going to fight? He doubted his own thoughts. "Grandfather, I'm a junior. How can I attack you?" Prince Rong smiled and said, "You're a student now, and I'm your examiner. There's nothing you can't attack. Go all out. If you can't pass my test, not only will I disqualify you from representing the Huarong Empire, but I'll also put you under house arrest for 3 months. Work hard for your freedom. You should know that under these circumstances, I won't hold back." Flames rose from Prince Rong's body. The red flames brought with them immense heat, causing the temperature of the entire hall to rise. The fire elements in the air quickly condensed towards Prince Rong. With every bit of condensation, the flames around Prince Rong grew stronger. Nian Bing sighed inwardly. He knew that he had to make a move. The only thing he could do now was to complete the test without letting Prince Rong discover his identity. At the thought of this, Nian Bing's expression calmed down. As an outstanding mage, calmness was definitely the most important thing. Flames also rose from Nian Bing's body. Although it wasn't as imposing as Prince Rong's, the speed at which it absorbed the fire elements was not slow at all. Nian Bing's body gradually turned red. He stretched out his right hand, and a fireball suddenly appeared in his palm. The fireball kept changing as the fire elements condensed. As its size grew, its aura also grew stronger. Prince Rong nodded and said, "All right, it's a good idea to simplify the complicated. I'll see what you can change the fireball into." Nian Bing smiled faintly and said, "Then wait and see. I won't let you down." He knew very well that since Prince Rong asked him to attack, he would give him enough time to gather his magic power. Since that was the case, everything became much easier. Although he might not be able to reach the level of a magic shooter with a single fire magic spell, his advantage was his mental strength. Chapter 98. The fireball grew bigger and bigger in Nian Bing's hands. Gradually, it exceeded 2 feet in size. The surging fire elements kept making popping sounds. Nian Bing had already raised it above his head, and the heat around his body was continuously increasing. The fireball spell was only a Tier 2 spell. For a sorcerer, this spell didn't require any incantations. However, what Nian Bing was condensing now was no longer a simple Tier 2 spell. Using a low-tiered spell to condense a high-tiered spell required magic power. This was what Prince Rong meant by simplifying the complicated into the simple. Since Prince Rong wanted to test it, then he would test it with pure magic power. When the fireball's size increased to 3 feet, it stopped increasing. The fireball spell itself was a very stable low-tiered spell. However, Nian Bing used this spell to condense such a large amount of fire elements. How could it be stable? No one would doubt that this huge fireball with a diameter of 3 feet could explode at any time. However, what Nian Bing did next gave Prince Rong a fright. The huge red fireball gradually changed under Nian Bing's control. It didn't continue to grow, but instead started to shrink. The first thing to shrink was the circle of flames on the outside. The originally radiant fireball suddenly became much dimmer, and the entire fireball turned from red to dark red. Prince Rong made a sound of surprise. He was surprised to find that Nian Bing's blue eyes were now covered with a layer of white light. As an archmage, he naturally knew that this was a situation that could only occur when one's mental strength reached a certain level. A trace of a smile appeared on Prince Rong's face as he muttered to himself, "Kid, looks like I still underestimated you. Your mental strength is actually so strong." Yes, what Nian Bing was using now was his enormous mental strength. The fireball was indeed very unstable after becoming huge, but he was using his mental strength to compress this fireball. It could be seen how greedy he was with his mental strength. His many days of cultivation weren't wasted. Whether it was his magical power or mental strength, he had made considerable progress. After the dark red fireball changed color, it started to compress. Every time it was compressed, the fireball would pause for a moment before continuing to compress. The white light in Nian Bing's eyes became stronger and stronger. His mental strength had been raised to the limit. What he had to do was no longer just compress the fireball. At the same time, he had to effectively control the fire elements within the fireball. He even had to arrange the arrangement of the fire element. Otherwise, once this huge fireball exploded, the first unlucky one would be himself. The fireball continued to shrink. Nian Bing was very greedy for himself. At this moment, he wasn't only to deal with the test in front of him. In the depths of his heart, there was a faint desire to win. He wanted to show this grandfather, who had been strict with him and his father, that he wasn't a good-for-nothing. When the huge fireball shrunk from 3 feet to 2 feet, the color of the fireball changed again. On the surface of the dark red fireball, a layer of dark blue flames appeared. The flames were very small, but they clearly existed. The space within 10 feet of Nian Bing's body had already become somewhat distorted due to the high temperature. The continuously shrinking fireball of Nian Bing was gradually turning blue. Prince Rong looked at Nian Bing in shock. He still wasn't stopping? Was he going to continue compressing? Could it be that his mental strength had already reached the level of an archmage? At this moment, he suddenly realized a problem. He no longer just watched, but began to silently chant an incantation. After all, facing such a huge fireball of unknown power, even a strong person like a prince didn't dare to underestimate it. Finally, the fireball completely turned blue. Looking at the blue fireball in his hand, even Nian Bing found it hard to believe. However, he knew that this was all his mental strength could do. The fireball had shrunk from 3 feet to 1 foot in diameter. With such a large amount of fire elemental essence condensed, if he continued to compress it, he was afraid that his mental strength wouldn't be able to withstand it. "Grandfather, you have to be careful," Nian Bing reminded Prince Rong as the fireball flew out of his hand. The fireball didn't attack in a straight line. Instead, it drew a beautiful arc in the air and fell towards Prince Rong's head. Prince Rong's eyes shone brightly. His incantation seemed to have been completed. The flames around his body turned from red to dark blue in an instant. The flames quickly condensed before the fireball arrived. With a dragon's roar, it actually turned into a blue flame dragon that was 10 feet long. It met Nianbing's compressed fireball head-on. Of course, Prince Rong's magic wasn't finished yet. As one of the top fire magicians on the continent and the first Grand Tutor of the Huarong Empire, how could his strength only be this much? When the first blue flame dragon rushed towards the compressed fireball, the second flame dragon also quickly condensed. At the same time, the blue flames formed a blue flame barrier around his body, isolating him from the outside world. The second flame dragon flew up and met the fireball from another direction. However, its speed was much faster. When the first flame dragon was about to come into contact with the fireball, the second flame dragon arrived at the same time. Of course, Nian Bing didn't want the fireball that he had painstakingly condensed to be destroyed just like that. He immediately reacted. The fireball that was originally flying forward in an arc suddenly plummeted towards the ground, as if it was falling. The 2 fire dragons quickly chased after it. Just as the fireball was about to hit the ground, it suddenly flew forward while sticking close to the ground. It swayed to the left and right to lure the 2 fire dragons away. Then, it suddenly accelerated and flew towards Prince Rong. Prince Rong praised, "Good, you're indeed my grandson. Let's have a good show of 2 dragons fighting for a pearl." As he said that, his right hand moved slightly in the air. Nian Bing saw a strange scene. One of the 2 flame dragons suddenly expanded to its limit, almost filling 1/3 of the entire hall and enveloping Nian Bing's fireball, while the other flame dragon directly rushed into the body of the first flame dragon. Before Nian Bing could react, it had already caught up with his fireball. It was already too late to break free. However, Nian Bing would not allow the energy of the 2 flame dragons to nibble away at his compressed fireball. Even if he wanted to explode, he must find the best opportunity. The fireball moved at lightning speed. It didn't have a target, and it moved in a random direction. However, it created an afterimage in the first fire dragon's body. Just as the second fire dragon was blindly chasing after the fireball, the white light in Nian Bing's eyes suddenly shone brightly. Boom! A huge roar shook the entire underground hall violently. The 4 walls, the floor and the top of the hall simultaneously emitted a strong red light. The violent roar shook Nian Bing several steps back, constantly casting one wall of fire after another in front of him. The whole hall groaned in the interweaving of red and blue light. No one could imagine the power of the violent explosion. Everything was over. Nian Bing fell to the ground with a pale face. However, with the help of the fire dragon King Garamandes to strengthen his physique, he did not suffer any harm. It's just that the vibration of his mental power was more violent. Nian Bing's face revealed a smile. Looking at Prince Rong, who was still standing on the other side of the hall, he knew that he should have passed the test. The layer of blue light around Prince Rong's body was still there, but the 2 7th-rank flame dragons he released were blown to pieces, not even leaving behind a flame residue. Although Nian Bing consumed a lot of magical power, it was only equivalent to a 7th-rank spell. But he used 2 7th-rank flame dragons, which were both blown up by Nian Bing's highly compressed fireball. Looking at the current situation, Nian Bing was the one who had the advantage. Clap, clap, clap. Prince Rong clapped his hands and said indifferently, "Even if the real Rong Bing did it, I'm afraid he could only do it to this extent. Not bad. Very good, young Archmage. How should I address you?" Nian Bing's whole body trembled. He did not know where he exposed a flaw. Suppressing the surprise in his heart, he pretended to be surprised. "Grandfather, what do you mean? I'm Rong Bing. Don't you recognize me?" Prince Rong shook his head and said, "It's because I know my grandson that I know you're not him. Actually, when I first saw you, I already knew that you weren't him. Otherwise, why would I bring my grandson here for a test when I wanted to give him something? It's just like what you said. How could I not know my grandson's ability? However, I have to admit that you're very strong, so strong that you're close to Rong Bing's realm. However, if you don't show me the strength to fight against me, the final outcome will be to nurse a grievance here. Fight for your honor. I won't be merciful to an invading enemy. I haven't been active for a long time. Having a mage as an opponent, I think it's not bad." Nian Bing stood up. He knew that no matter what he said now, Prince Rong would not believe that he was his grandson Rong Bing. So be it, what was there to be afraid of? The grievances that he and his father had suffered in his childhood burst forth in an instant, and the light of hatred shot out from his eyes. Nian Bing's voice became very cold. "Prince Rong is indeed Prince Rong, to actually be discovered by you. However, I really want to know, how did you know that I'm not Rong Bing?" Prince Rong smiled indifferently and said, "That's not difficult. Firstly, Bing Er's clothes have not changed for more than 10 years. Regardless of spring, summer, autumn, or winter, he's always dressed in white. How could there be a sudden change? Also, there's the golden lion embroidery on your chest. Not bad, it's very similar to your hometown's embroidery. Normal people would not be able to tell. However, don't forget my nickname. As the Blazing Lion King, if I can't even recognize the symbol that symbolizes me, then I won't have this title. Now you should understand." Nian Bing nodded and said, "I understand. In that case, let's fight." He slowly closed his eyes, feeling the agitation in his heart. It was as if he had returned to his childhood. He remembered very clearly that almost every time his father brought him to see this grandfather of his, apart from scolding him, his grandfather didn't seem to show any other emotions. Therefore, every time he met this Prince Rong, it was the thing that Nian Bing was most unwilling to do. Today, he was finally going to face him again, and in a situation where they were on opposite sides. "Father, if it wasn't for him, perhaps we could at least have a home. However, from the day I was born, apart from the small house where you and Mother lived, I didn't have a home. The Rong family doesn't belong to me, and I am also not a part of the Rong family. Today, let me abandon everything and fight with my own grandfather. The result is no longer important whether I live or die." Thinking of this, Nian Bing didn't hide anything anymore. He slowly put his hands together in front of him, and his left and right index fingers drew out at the same time. Blue and red lights instantly condensed into 2 shining triangles, and a hexagram of the same origin of ice and fire was formed in an instant. At this moment, the aura emitted from his body changed again. That was the change of light. Blue and red lights soared at the same time. It was the power of the same origin of ice and fire. At this moment, he finally showed his true strength. Prince Rong looked at Nian Bing in astonishment. Is this the same origin of ice and fire? Young man, not only do you look very similar to Bing-er, but you also have a talent that is not inferior to his. I haven't seen such a strange magic for a long time. I already have a fighting spirit, Nian Bing said coldly. Then let's show your fighting spirit completely. Even if I die, I hope that I can face the blazing Lion King in its perfect state. Sigh of the Ice Goddess. The blue light instantly lit up, and a dot of blue light expanded from Nian Bing's hand. With a clink, the morning dew dagger stabbed into the ground under Nian Bing's feet, emitting an abnormally cold luster. It immediately brought a trace of coldness to the originally extremely hot hall. Seeing the stone of the Ice Goddess, Prince Rong's expression couldn't help but change greatly. He looked straight at Nian Bing, and a trace of anger flashed through his eyes. Roar of the Fire God. The red light wasn't inferior to the blue light. It also stabbed into the ground under Nian Bing's feet, and fused with the hexagram of the same origin of ice and fire. At this moment, Nian Bing had already let go of all the burdens in his heart. He only wanted to fight with all his strength. Stone of the Fire God. Prince Rong's red magician's robe with golden edges suddenly swelled up, and his expression fluctuated. That's right, it's the Stone of the Fire God. Back then, didn't you chase after Rongtian for it? Fine, I'll return it today. As long as you can kill me, you can get back this Rong family's most precious treasure. Nian Bing's voice was even colder than before, and he didn't stop his actions. Whisper of the Wind of Freedom. Hexagram of Divine Tactics. Dawn piercing through heaven and earth. Curse of Eternal Hell. Green, silver, white, and black lights shone at the same time. In the originally not very lively hall, the cheers of the magic elements could almost be heard. This was the effect of the top-grade gemstones. The Proud Heaven Dagger, the Four Stars Dagger, the Holy Radiance Dagger, and the Demon-Devouring Dagger were all stabbed into the hexagram of the same origin of ice and fire. The 6 supreme-grade magic sabers shone with different light. There was no need for Nian Bing to chant an incantation, nor did he have to do anything on purpose. The 6 magic sabers naturally formed a layer of mist that protected his body. Nian Bing smiled. His eyes were filled with sorrow. Prince Rong, back then, my father only took away 1 stone of the Fire God. This time, I'm giving you 6 top-grade gemstones. I think my father's mistake can be made up for. These 6 gemstones can also be used to replace your love for him. My father and I have nothing to do with the Rong family. Today, I won't hold back. Although I know I'm not your opponent, I still want to fight with you. Even if I die, I'll choose to die in battle. Rise, holy light that penetrates the heavens and the earth. You represent the endless light that illuminates the earth. Transform, holy light's aura, in the radiance of the same origin of ice and fire, shine your holy light. Holy light. Under the effect of Nian Bing's spell, the holy light on the holy radiance blade rose to the extreme in an instant, illuminating the whole hall as if it was daytime. Holy light, this was a holy light that could purify everything. It was also one of the rare offensive spells of light magic. It had a double effect on dark creatures and dark magicians. A huge pillar of white light condensed in front of Nian Bing. Prince Rong calmly looked at the excited Nian Bing chanting a spell. When he discovered that Nian Bing wasn't using a spell of the same origin of ice and fire, but a light spell of the 8th step, holy light, his face revealed a look of astonishment. He didn't expect that Nian Bing could use a 3rd type of magic. However, what surprised Prince Rong was that Nian Bing didn't stop chanting. Under the control of his spiritual force, the holy light completely surrounded the hexagram of ice and fire. He continued to chant, Wind of Freedom, you're gentle and soft. When facing friends, you're as warm as the spring breeze. When facing enemies, you're as cold as the winter sun. Please lend me your extreme cold. The wind moved. The green light of the proud heaven blade rose in an instant. The green light of the blade broke through the shackles and soared into the sky. The wind of freedom's soft cry stirred up the wind's aura. Nian Bing's clothes fluttered in the wind as the gentle wind blew against him. Proud and aloof ice, coldness is your character, toughness is your aura. Please merge your coldness and toughness, and turn them into an indestructible sharp blade. Blue spots of light condensed in the wind, turning into solid sharp blades. These weren't ice blades of the second step, but real ice. The ice blades shone with an austere light. It was the seventh step of the ice rain. The holy light's function was only to act as a protective barrier. With this light spell of the eighth step, Nian Bing greedily hoped that Prince Rong wouldn't be able to attack her before she finished chanting. Hurricane Ice Rain. Every time Nian Bing used this spell, her opponent was swordsman Elder Feng Kong. Although Feng Kong was injured at that time, he was still a swordsman. However, in front of Nian Bing's spell, he couldn't do anything. The wind started to swirl violently, and the solid ice blades were fusing with the wind. The hurricane ice rain had started to erupt. Fire, ice, light, wind. 4 types of magic. It seems that I'm really old. Prince Rong's eyes revealed a trace of gentleness. With a flash of red light, a long magic staff appeared in his hand. His chanting voice was very low, and Nian Bing couldn't hear it at all. However, the blue flames surrounding his body had already turned purple as he continued to chant in a low voice. Of the 2 mages, one was a top mage on the continent, while the other was the first human to use mimicry magic and control 6 types of magic. What would be the final result of their battle? The proud Heaven Blade and Morning Dew dagger jumped into her hands at the same time. Nian Bing moved, waving the 2 daggers forward at the same time. Rays of light suddenly burst forth, and the hurricane ice rain was completely formed in an instant. It passed through the holy light in the form of a tornado, heading towards Prince Rong on the other side of the hall. Purple flames erupted at the end of the spell. Firewall, yes, a simple firewall. The wall formed by purple flames moved horizontally, directly facing the fusion spell of hurricane and ice rain. Ling Nianbing was shocked by what happened next. When the hurricane ice rain met the purple flame wall, its power rapidly weakened. On the other hand, the purple flame wall continued to strengthen with Prince Rong's support. Suddenly, Prince Rong shouted, and the purple flame wall rose to the same height as the hall. The hurricane ice rain that had previously entangled swordsmen disappeared just like that. Nian Bing understood that it wasn't that the power of her magic had weakened, but that Prince Rong's magic was too strong. The powerful hurricane ice rain didn't even have time to display its power before it was devoured. Was this the power of a true fire archmage? Prince Rong's eyes shone brightly. He raised the magic staff in his hand, and the purple flame wall instantly condensed into a huge flaming lion, pouncing towards Nian Bing with unparalleled speed. "Grandfather, no!" A terrified voice came from the corridor, and a white figure quickly rushed towards the hall. It was Rong Bing. Not long ago, after Nian Bing left the study, Rong Bing's emotions were constantly fluctuating. When he saw his younger brother again, he was no less excited than Nian Bing. Although he was anxious that Nian Bing had left, he also knew that he couldn't leave too quickly. Otherwise, Nian Bing's identity would be easily exposed. However, he suddenly felt a faint sense of unease. After the time it took to eat a meal after Nian Bing left, he finally couldn't help but leave the library. Rong Bing was preparing to find his father and tell him about his encounter with Nian Bing today, but on the way, he ran into the Red Lion Guard that had led Nian Bing to Prince Rong. When the Red Lion Guard saw him, he was very surprised and couldn't help but ask him why he came out of the prince's study so quickly. After hearing the Red Lion Guard's words, Rong Bing immediately realized that something was wrong. Grandfather was too familiar with him. Nian Bing's disguise couldn't be hidden from him. Without thinking too much, Rong Bing immediately rushed to Prince Rong's study as fast as he could. Others might not know about the secret hall under Prince Rong's study, but how could he not know? However, he was still a step too late. When he was about to rush out of the corridor and into the hall, He just happened to see that huge flaming lion pouncing towards Nian Bing. Rong Bing was a magic shooter, but he was only a magician. How could a magician's running speed be fast? Looking at the purple lion rushing towards Nian Bing, he didn't have the ability to stop it at all. His mind instantly became blank. No one knew better than him that this was the power of a forbidden spell. Hearing her brother's voice and facing the huge purple lion, Nian Bing's heart suddenly rose with unintentional courage. The holy brilliance sword jumped into his hand, and his whole body plunged into the sea of unintentional flames. At this moment, not only did he burst forth with all his magic power, but he also burst forth with all his mental strength at the same time. On the ground, the red and blue magic array of the same origin of ice and fire floated up and instantly merged with the divine light. For a moment, the white, blue, and red rays of light actually completely merged together, fusing together with Nian Bing's heart. The mixed rays of light colored Nian Bing's body, and at the same time, the holy brilliance soared in his hand. Dragon Dance. A dragon's roar sounded from the huge tricolored light that covered Nian Bing. It wasn't the roar of a dragon, but the roar of 9 dragons. At this moment, Nian Bing, through the perfect fusion of the same origin of ice and fire and light magic, suddenly raised her attack power to the level of an archmage. Even though this was only the moment when his life was in danger, it was enough. The 9 dragons entangled in white, blue, and red rays of light rushed out at the same time, and the scene of 9 dragons galloping covered the entire hall. Prince Rong wasn't frightened by the scene in front of him. Looking at the 9 dragons in front of him, the purple lion he controlled suddenly stopped charging forward, and the light of the purple flames rose again. That was an absolutely surging divine light, a divine light that no one could imagine. The 9 dragons were swallowed up one by one. Even if Nian Bing had reached the level of an archmage, the difference in strength was still there. How could he break through the power of a forbidden spell? Rong Bing knelt on the ground in despair and closed his eyes. Tears flowed down his face. He didn't need to look to know that Nian Bing couldn't win against his grandfather. The hall gradually calmed down, and all kinds of complicated rays of light gradually disappeared. Prince Rong suddenly discovered in surprise that there were only 5 shining blades in front of him, and Nian Bing was gone. His heart shook and he abruptly turned around. The huge purple lion had also come to his side. Yes, Nian Bing was half kneeling behind him, constantly panting. Nian Bing's newly bought golden red robe was already torn in many places, and her face was frighteningly pale. Large drops of sweat rolled down her forehead, and the extreme exhaustion of her magic and spiritual force had already caused her to enter a semi-conscious state. In his hand, there was a strangely shaped silver knife. Its hexagonal blade was shining brightly. Prince Rong felt his heart skip a beat. If Nian Bing was a bit stronger, and still had the strength to come behind him, what would happen? He shook his head with a bitter smile, not daring to think about it. However, if he had attacked her together, Nian Bing probably wouldn't have had the strength to come behind him. Spatial magic, this was the 5th type of magic he had used. Brat, how many more surprises do you have to give me? With a thump, Nian Bing, who had been trying her best to hold on, finally collapsed to the ground and fainted. However, his hand was still tightly gripping the 4 stars blade. When the first dragon came into contact with the purple lion, he already knew that he couldn't defend against it, so he wisely chose to escape, and the best way to do so was to use spatial magic. When the last 3 dragons rushed out, he gave up on the Holy Radiance blade, and chose the 4 stars blade, and used the moment the light blinded him to activate a short-distance teleportation. Originally, he wanted to teleport himself outside, but he forgot that there was a strong seal in this underground hall, so the short-distance teleportation accidentally sent him behind Prince Rong, resulting in the previous scene. Everything returned to normal, and Rong Bing slowly opened his eyes. The first thing he saw was the 5 blades at the position where Rong Bing was, and then, his grandfather. Grandfather, he is Nian Bing. He is also your grandson, why did you kill him? Rong Bing's voice was filled with sorrow. Prince Rong said indifferently, I have always been merciless in front of my enemies, but even a vicious tiger will not eat its own cubs. Do you think I will kill my own grandson? As he said that, he turned to the side and revealed Nian Bing, who had fainted not far behind him. Nian Bing! Ice Melt cried out in surprise. She rushed to Nian Bing's side as quickly as she could and hugged his upper body as she probed for his aura. Prince Rong said indifferently, Don't worry, he will be fine, he just fainted because he used too much energy. Rong Bing let out a long breath. Grandfather, Prince Rong waved his hand and said, Don't say anything, settle him down first, then come to the study to find me. I need your explanation. As he said that, he waved his hand and a fiery red light lit up. Including Nian Bing's 4 stars blade, all 6 blades fell into Prince Rong's hands. Rong Bing was in a good mood, at least Nian Bing was not dead, and that was enough. He carried his younger brother's body and followed his grandfather back to the study. According to Prince Rong's instructions, he settled Nian Bing in his room, then returned to the study to see Prince Rong. When Rong Bing returned to the study, Prince Rong was sitting in silence behind the study table. In front of him, there were 6 different blades neatly arranged on the table. Grandfather, I am here. Rong Bing was a little uneasy. In the prince's residence, the only person he was afraid of was his grandfather. Prince Rong said indifferently, You can start talking now, you should know what I want to hear. Since Nian Bing had already been found out by his grandfather, there was nothing to hide anymore. Then, he told his grandfather about how Nian Bing snuck into the study tonight, but did not mention the part where he gave the notebook to Nian Bing. Are you saying that Rong Tian is already dead? Prince Rong's expression and tone were still calm, but Rong Bing could clearly see his grandfather's hand on the table trembling slightly. Yes, grandfather. This is what Nian Bing said. He has no reason to lie to me. Grandfather, Nian Bing is already pitiful enough. He finally came back. He must have suffered a lot these years, you. Chapter 99. Shut up, Prince Rong shouted coldly, stopping Rong Bing's words. I don't need you to teach me what to do. All right, you can leave. When he wakes up tomorrow, bring him here to see me. If you dare to let him out without my permission, I will punish you as well. Yes, grandfather. He agreed. Rong Bing hesitated for a moment, then sighed softly and turned to leave Prince Rong's study. Only Prince Rong was left in the study. Looking at the 6 magic swords on the table, Prince Rong's eyes gradually became blurry. Tian'er, you're actually dead? Why didn't you come back after so many years? Don't you understand? Back then, I hated you for not living up to my expectations. Is that woman really worth you sacrificing so much? Actually, when Nian Bing entered the study and was discovered, Prince Rong had already vaguely guessed Nian Bing's identity. With his experience, he could naturally tell that Nian Bing's appearance wasn't disguised by magic. And since he looked so similar to Rong Bing, Prince Rong naturally thought of something. That was why Prince Rong led him to the underground hall to test his magic. When Nian Bing summoned the god of fire's roar, Prince Rong immediately knew that the person facing him was one of his own grandsons, the son of Rong Tian whom he once doted on the most. After an unknown amount of time, Nian Bing slowly woke up from his slumber. His brain continuously throbbed with pain and dizziness, causing him to groan uncontrollably. He wanted to open his eyes, but he couldn't muster any strength. It was as if his entire body had been hollowed out. Am I dead? Nian Bing asked himself in his heart. He didn't know that when his mind was clear and at a loss, a familiar warmth flowed into his body from his chest, nourishing his meridians. It's the aura of the heavenly flower token. That means I'm not dead yet. Nian Bing was very excited. He no longer acted like a fool and completely woke up, regaining his calm. He felt the gentle energy bestowed by the heavenly flower tablet. He focused on his inner vision and sensed the current state of his body. After a brief observation, Nian Bing could not think of any other way to describe it other than the word terrible. In his body, both his spiritual energy and magic had reached the point of exhaustion. His body was fine, but the extreme consumption of his spiritual energy had caused him to fall into a semi-conscious state. Nian Bing knew that if it wasn't for the nourishment and protection of the heavenly flower token, she didn't know how long it would take for her to regain her consciousness. He was still alive. However, she had no idea what was happening outside. The most important thing now was to quickly recover her strength. Only then would she be able to deal with everything in the outside world. Thinking of this, Nian Bing borrowed the power of the heavenly flower token and lay there to begin the process of meditation. It was undoubtedly a very painful thing to meditate in a situation where one's mental strength and magic power were both exhausted. Without a strong mental strength to guide them, it would be very difficult. The speed at which magic was condensed was astonishingly slow. If she did not concentrate on sensing it, she would not be able to discover that the traces of magic were seeping into her body. Nian Bing was not anxious, because she knew that it was useless to be anxious. In this situation, she could only gradually recover. While condensing her magic, she recalled the battle with Prince Rong. The magnificent battle of magic did not last long, but Nian Bing learned a lot from Prince Rong. She was a sorcerer with the same origin of ice and fire, and could use 6 types of magic. However, in the face of Prince Rong's single magic, she could not withstand a single blow. Only the compressed fireball at the beginning could barely resist Prince Rong, but when his flames turned purple, even if she used her strongest magic, she could not stop his attack. Was this the difference in strength? In the face of such an absolute difference, any technique was useless. Originally, before Nian Bing used the last spell, she had the time clogged to sacrifice her vitality to cast a curse spell. However, before that, she still had a sliver of luck because she still had the Jade Pearl Sword. Moreover, although she was unwilling to admit it, the enemy she was facing was her own grandfather. Therefore, she did not use the curse spell. In the end, she ignored the barrier and fainted from exhaustion. Prince Rong only used an ordinary magic staff. Even if the quality of the staff was good, it could not be compared to her roar of the fire god. However, the speed of his magic was much faster than hers. Moreover, looking at its power, it was not an exaggeration to say that it was at the 10th level. To be able to use such a powerful magic in such a short period of time, Prince Rong was indeed worthy of being the Fire Lion King. However, based on his strength, the Ice Goddess Priestess had won against Prince Rong and his 2 brothers. Wouldn't that mean that she was even more inferior to him? Thinking of this, Nian Bing could not help but feel a little dejected. Her magical energy and mental strength were recovering bit by bit. As the 2 different abilities recovered to a certain extent, Nian Bing could already feel that the speed at which she condensed her magical energy was getting faster and faster. The ice and fire magical energy connected to her chest and lower abdomen gradually had a red and blue luster. Looking at the real magical elements, Nian Bing's heart was filled with a sense of familiarity. She was calling for the condensation of this power, calling for her partner. When he opened his eyes, Nian Bing saw a vast expanse of whiteness. This was a spacious bed, but the bed wasn't soft at all. Instead, it was hard. He moved his body slightly, and immediately felt waves of soreness. Her magical energy had recovered by 30%. She really wanted to see her current situation, so she temporarily stopped her meditation and woke up. "Nian Bing, you're awake." An excited voice sounded. Before Nian Bing could react, another person appeared in front of the bed. It was her older brother, Rong Bing. Seeing Rong Bing, Nian Bing's heart immediately calmed down a little, and a trace of a smile appeared on her face. "Brother, did you save me?" Rong Bing shook his head and said, "No, I didn't save you. It could be said that you saved yourself. It could also be said that grandfather didn't have the heart to hurt you." Nian Bing frowned slightly and said, "So, I'm still in the Rong family?" "Brother, Does Prince Rong want to put me under house arrest in the prince's mansion, like what he did to my father? Rong Bing sighed softly and said, I don't know. Grandfather only said that when you wake up, I'll take you to see him. Nian Bing sat up from the bed. Since he had recovered 30% of his magical energy and mental strength, there was no problem with his body. She sighed and said, The more I don't want to face something, the faster it will come. It seems that running away is useless. Brother, take me to see him. It wasn't that she didn't want to leave this place, but she didn't want to bring trouble to her elder brother who cared about her even more. Rong Bing's eyes shone. Suddenly, he pressed Nian Bing's shoulder and said, No, don't go. You should go. You're right. I think grandfather will very likely put you under house arrest. Nian Bing paused for a second, then slowly shook her head and said, No, I want to see him. I have to face what I have to face. Even if he really wants to put me under house arrest, it's nothing. Although Rong Bing didn't say anything, she clearly understood that if she just left like this, it would definitely bring a lot of trouble to Rong Bing. The Rong family's rules were extremely strict. No one could go unpunished after breaking the rules. Rong Bing said, Do you really want to see grandfather? Nian Bing, even if grandpa was wrong back then, he is still our father. That day when you fainted, grandfather said that even a vicious tiger wouldn't eat its own cubs. Grandfather is old now. He is no longer as strict as he used to be when he was young. If you go to see him now, you have to control your tone, don't offend him. Promise me, okay? Otherwise, I won't take you to see him. Nian Bing's eyes shone. She thought of her father and the days when she was a child. Nian Bing smiled and said, Brother, I've grown up. I'm not a kid anymore. I know what I should do at what time. Take me to him, I want to have a good talk with him. But, since the day my father and I left the prince's mansion, I have already stopped being a member of the Rong family. Putting on Rong Bing's clothes, the two brothers stood side by side, as if they were born from the same mother. They glanced at each other and couldn't help but smile. Rong Bing reached out his right hand to Nian Bing and said, Nian Bing, no matter what happens, I will always be on your side. Nian Bing also reached out his right hand and shook his brother's hand. He didn't say anything, but the look in his eyes had already made Rong Bing understand. Walking in Prince Rong's mansion, the appearance of Nian Bing and Rong Bing didn't attract anyone's attention. This was because Nian Bing was wearing his bamboo hat. When he took out the bamboo hat from his spatial ring, he already knew that the magic blade he relied on was gone. However, he was very calm. He wanted to laugh when he was about to face his grandfather. His father took away the divine stone of fire, but he gave back 6 top-quality gems. If his father was still here, how would he deal with all this? Rong Bing's room wasn't far from the study, so the two quickly arrived at this familiar place. Rong Bing gave Nian Bing a look, walked up a few steps, and knocked on the door. Grandfather, Rong Bing and Nian Bing are here to see you. Come in. Prince Rong's voice was very calm, without the slightest trace of emotion. Rong Bing pushed open the door to the study and walked in with Nian Bing. Prince Rong was still in the same clothes as the other day. The red magic robe set off his majestic aura. Grandfather, Nian Bing just woke up, so I brought him here, Rong Bing said respectfully. Prince Rong said indifferently, You can go back first. I want to talk to him alone. Grandfather, let me stay, Rong Bing said urgently. Leave. Prince Rong's eyes flashed. The fierce aura intimidated Rong Bing so much that he took 2 steps back. He looked up at Nian Bing and gave him a careful look, then slowly left the study. He didn't dare to offend Prince Rong's authority. Rong Bing closed the door behind him. Hearing the sound of the door closing, Nian Bing slowly took off the bamboo hat on his head. His eyes were calm and cold as he looked directly at Prince Rong's fierce gaze. I heard from Rong Bing that Rong Tian is dead. Prince Rong looked at Nian Bing's cold eyes and said indifferently. Nian Bing said calmly, He's dead. 8 years ago, father and mother were buried in the Ice God Tower. However, This doesn't seem to have anything to do with you. From the moment we left the Rong family, our surname is no longer Rong. I am Nian Bing. It means that my father missed his mother. Bastard. Prince Rong flew into a rage and stood up abruptly. Even if he turned into ashes, Rongtian was still a member of the Rong family. Nian Bing sneered. His eyes were filled with sadness. Although he knew that this powerful Prince Rong could kill him at any time, he couldn't control his emotions anymore. His eyes turned red and his body trembled slightly. He shouted emotionally, "People of the Rong family? Who treated my father and I as people of the Rong family? If you treated us as people of the Rong family, why did you treat us like that? Was it because my father fell in love with my mother? Was it because they gave birth to me? You're a flaming lion, so you're targeting the Ice God Tower. However, what right do you have to link all of this to the next generation? Father and mother were so loving, yet you forcefully broke them apart. Mother had me, and it wasn't easy for her to find father. However, after a few days of comfort, our happiness didn't exist. You said that we are people of the Rong family. Was that what you thought when my father and I were chased by the Rong family's guards? Where was the Rong family when we wandered the world for our home? Home? When my father and I left this place, we didn't have a home. You didn't want us for a long time. Now, you are telling me that my father is a member of the Rong family? Could it be that only dead people can return to the Rong family? I don't care about such a family. Perhaps others think that the Rong family is supreme, but in my eyes it is just a cold prison. There is no affection, only rigid rules and cold relationship. Since my mother was taken away by the Ice Goddess, my father and I lived in the Rong family for 6 years. Every day, my father missed my mother and the so-called family members looked down on him. Prince Rong, do you know what impression I have of you? In my memories, you were never like my grandfather. You only roared angrily like a lion. I watched my father become indifferent to your roars, and watched my father become more and more haggard day by day. Although I was very young at that time, I also understood that this so-called family couldn't accommodate us at all. I don't admit that I am a member of the Rong family, nor am I your grandson. You can treat me as an invader and kill me as you wish. But if you want me to admit that you are my grandfather, unless my parents come back to life, it's impossible. I am already an orphan. Nian Bing's words were full of sorrow, but every word was so sonorous and powerful. Her tone was resolute and unquestionable. All the grievances and hatred she had endured for many years completely exploded at this moment. Nian Bing hated the Ice Goddess because she killed her parent. However, she also hated Prince Rong. If Prince Rong didn't oppose his parents' marriage, at least she and her father would still have a family. Orphan, yes. She had been an orphan since she was 10 years old. If she hadn't met her master, she probably would have died long ago. Prince Rong stood behind the desk and looked at Nian Bing. Seeing the tears on his face, the anger on Prince Rong's face gradually disappeared. He said coldly, "If your father was still here, he definitely wouldn't dare to talk to me like this. To be precise, since the day the Huarong Empire was established, you are the first person who dared to talk back to me like this." Nian Bing smiled and walked up to the desk. She looked into Prince Rong's eyes and said, "I'm not even afraid of death, so what's wrong with talking back to you? Do you still think you are in the right? However, in my eyes, you are just a headstrong old man. If I don't die this time, when I have enough strength one day, I might not come looking for trouble with the Rong family." Prince Rong said coldly, "Are you forcing me to kill you?" Nian Bing said indifferently, "Go ahead and kill me. You have so many children and grandchildren, and so many subordinate. Killing me won't affect you at all. I only have 30% of my magic power now, and I don't even have a chance to resist. If you kill me, the voices that go against you will disappear. I'm not my father, and my father will only submit in front of your might. However, I won't. I will fight for my own geographical sense." Prince Rong said indifferently, "Do you think you can just die by my hands like this? Does it mean anything to you? Don't you want to avenge your parents?" Nian Bing's body trembled, and the muscles on her face twitched. Indeed, before coming here, she had already disregarded her life and death. However, when Prince Rong mentioned avenging her parents, her heart was moved. Prince Rong said, "You're right about one thing. I have many children and grandchildren, so it's nothing if you die. However, don't forget that you're Rongtian's only son. You can't avenge your parents. You're unfilial. The dead are heavier than a mountain. Some are lighter than a goose feather. Do you think it means anything if you die by my hands like this?" Nian Bing's agitated emotions gradually calmed down. "So you are saying that you are willing to let me go?" Prince Rong returned to his seat. "Let you go? Sure, I didn't want to kill you in the first place. Killing you won't benefit me at all. However, if you want to leave the prince's residence alive, you have to pay a price. There is nothing that can be obtained without paying a price. Take out something that can exchange for your life, and you can leave." Nian Bing sneered and said, "I don't have anything that can exchange for my life. My most precious 6 swords are in your hands." "No, you do." Nian Bing was shocked to find that Prince Rong, who had always been extremely strict in her heart, actually revealed a trace of a smile on his face. "I do? What is it? Why don't I know?" Nian Bing looked at Prince Rong in confusion. Prince Rong said indifferently, "It's very simple. I want to know how you can control so many types of magic. I have been immersed in magic for nearly 70 years, and this is the first time I have seen someone who can use so many types of magic. The value of this secret is much higher than your life. Of course, I don't want to hear lies. You should understand that lies have no effect on me." Nian Bing looked at Prince Rong in a daze. "It's that simple? You only want to know this and you want to let me go?" Prince Rong said indifferently, "Do you want to die?" "No, I don't want to die." Nian Bing shook her head hard. For the sake of her parents' revenge, she couldn't die. "Then you can begin to tell me. I am very interested in your magic. Rong Bing is the successor of your generation that I have groomed with all my might. He has been practicing meditation since he was 4 years old. The process of learning magic is the most advanced. Moreover, he has high comprehension and is willing to work hard. That's why he has just reached the realm of a magic shooter this year. However, you are 1 year younger than him, yet you have already reached the realm of a magic shooter. In terms of the transformation of magic, he can't compare to you, especially the use of fusion magic and the control of mental strength. I want to know how you cultivate." Nian Bing said, "You mean, as long as I tell you the process of my cultivation, I can leave?" Prince Rong nodded and said, "That's right. I, Rongyan, have never gone back on my words. You can begin to tell me." Nian Bing said, "Actually, it's not a big deal to tell you, because my situation is very difficult to replicate. When I was young, I had always followed my father to cultivate fire magic. After that, I left this place. No matter where my father went, he would work hard to cultivate. Because if he wanted to save my mother, he had to have strong abilities. Under my father's influence, my fire magic continued to improve. Finally, my father couldn't bear it anymore and wanted to see my mother. However, my father couldn't resist the power of the ice goddess priestess. When my father was about to be swallowed by the magic of the ice goddess priestess, my mother broke free from her shackles and joined hands with my father to resist the magic of the ice goddess priestess. In order to let me escape, my mother gave me the precious ice goddess stone. I used the spatial magic scroll that my father had prepared in advance to escape the scene. The moment I left, I clearly saw my father and mother's bodies being swallowed by the magic of the ice goddess priestess. Later, I was saved by my first master. When I started to cultivate magic again, I discovered that not only did my body have the fire element, there was also the ice element at the same time. Maybe it's because my parents have the fire and ice element respectively. I actually inherited their constitutions at the same time, and the ice goddess stone triggered my ice element physique. From then on, I started to cultivate ice and fire magic. No, that's impossible. If you have ice and fire magic at the same time, the biggest possibility is that you will be swallowed by them. Who is the first master you speak of? Did he guide you? Nian Bing shook her head and said, My first master was a great chef. I learned cooking from him. It wasn't magic. Maybe the heavens took pity on me, and wanted to give me a chance to take revenge. I met my destined benefactor. She was also the mother that I later recognized. She gave me a piece of top-quality jade. When I was facing the ice and fire magic for the first time, this piece of jade saved my life. It was also at that time that I truly entered the ice and fire magic elementary cultivation. My strength began to make great progress. As for my growth later on, it was daunting but not dangerous. When my ice and fire magic reached a certain level, I met my second master. He passed on his knowledge of magic to me. At his place, I saw many magic books, and combined them with my own understanding. I continued to cultivate. That's why I said that even if I told you all these cultivation methods, it would be useless. After all, it's hard to find someone who has both the ice and fire element physique at the same time. It's even more impossible to find someone who can obtain the ice goddess stone and the fire stone. With all kinds of luck, I have today's me. Prince Rong's eyes flashed. Nian Bing explained it very simply, skipping over the key points. But he understood that cultivating the ice and fire magic elementary cultivation wasn't easy. If he wasn't careful, he would be devoured by magic. Nian Bing's body was like a huge bomb that could explode at any time. Controlling this bomb and using him, no wonder his mental strength was so strong. Then what happened? How do you explain your other magic spells? Don't tell me you also have a few physique. It's not that I haven't seen people who have 3 types of magic at the same time, but because they are restrained by each other, they either die or the magician lives a mediocre life. But I see 5 types of magic in you, and each of them is at least at the 7th level. How do you explain this? Nian Bing smiled faintly and said, That's even simpler. Actually, what I have is only the ice and fire magic elementary cultivation. The other types of magic that you see aren't something that I can use on my own. I rely on the mimicry ability to balance the ice and fire magic elementary cultivation in a subtle way, and with the help of a few top-notch magic blades, I can use different types of magic. To be honest, not only can I use 5 types of magic, I can even use 7 types of magic. It's just that I just got the dark devouring magic blade not long ago, and I don't know much about dark magic incantations, so I haven't used it yet. What I lack now is an earth magic blade. If I can get it, and make use of the mimicry ability, I can become an all-elemental magician. You don't have to think too much about what mimicry magic is. This ability doesn't belong to humans. Only my ice and fire magic elementary cultivation can allow the magical elements to reach a subtle balance, and then use the magic blade to release different types of magic. Prince Rong snorted and said, You don't make use of the ice and fire magic elementary cultivation, and you just have to research some mimicry magic. According to your explanation, the strength of your mimicry magic is definitely weaker than the ice and fire magic elementary cultivation. Why didn't you use the ice and fire magic elementary cultivation to attack me yesterday? That way your chances would be higher. Nian Bing said, It's not that I don't want to use it, but in the situation yesterday, when facing you, you're a top-notch fire magician. Whether it's ice or fire, the threat to you is relatively small. That's why I chose the combination of ice and wind, and the combination of fire and light, so that I can offset more of your attack power. However, I still miscalculated. The strength of your magic is far greater than the magic I use. My skills can't make up for the difference between us, so I lost. That's right, the ice and fire magic elementary cultivation is already very good. It's enough for me to use for a lifetime. However, you can't deny that the other types of magic have their own characteristic. For example, wind magic can allow me to fly, space magic can save my life at a critical moment, and light magic can dispel all evil auras. Don't tell me you think that they're all useless? Moreover, I'm only researching the techniques of using these few types of magic. In the process of meditation, I'm really practicing the ice and fire magic elementary cultivation. This is my foundation. Prince Rong's eyes flashed. He heard too much from Nian Bing's explanation. He had been immersed in magic for decades, but this wasn't the first time he met a magician like Nian Bing. Not only was Nian Bing a genius in the world of magic, but at the same time, his luck was also amazing. Not to mention other things, just being able to grasp the ice and fire magic elementary cultivation and obtain a few top-grade gems was already proof of his luck. Prince Rong had always believed that strength and hard work were proportional. However, he also believed in luck. If a person didn't have a bit of luck in his life, then he wouldn't be able to achieve great things. Which powerhouse in the world could grow up to be separated from luck? Ordinary people also had luck, but the difference between ordinary people and powerhouses was that they couldn't grasp the opportunities brought by their luck. Nian Bing looked at the Prince Rong cards and thought, I've already said what I should say. Now it's time for you to fulfill your promise and let me go. Prince Rong looked up at Nian Bing and said, Yes, you can leave at any time. However, don't you want to take back your swords? Without them, you won't be able to use the mimicry magic, and even your own strength will be greatly reduced. There's one thing you might not know. Until now, although you're already a magic shooter, you still haven't unleashed the power of the Stone of Fire. Nian Bing snorted disdainfully. Don't think too highly of yourself. I might not be unaware of what you know. The power of these top-grade gems is closely related to the user's ability. Only when I'm strong will they be able to display more power. Am I right? Prince Rong, I do want my treasures back, but are you willing to give them to me? Back then, you sent people to chase us for thousands of miles just for a stone of fire. Now that there are 6 gems in front of you, are you willing to give them up? Prince Rong smiled coldly, suppressing the anger that was aroused by Nian Bing. You say you understand, but in fact, you don't fully understand these 6 swords. They're no longer just 6 gems. The combination of the gems and the swords forms a connection between the soul and the body. Even if the gems are removed, part of the gem's power will be absorbed by the swords, causing the value of the gems to decrease greatly. However, these 6 magic swords were no longer available to just anyone. The so-called divine artifact recognizes its master. When a divine artifact of this level recognizes its master, its aura will be completely connected to its master. Unless its master dies, no one else will be able to use it. I believe that these 6 sabers have all drunk your blood before. Hearing Prince Rong's words, Nian Bing suddenly remembered. That's right. Regardless of whether it was the Morning Dew dagger and the Righteous Yang saber that he had personally forged, or the 4 treasured blades that he had obtained later on, they had all drunk his blood. Even the Wind of Freedom's gentle song and the proud Heaven saber had been nourished by Long Ji's blood before he left Ice Snow City. The swords recognized him as their master. His heart suddenly became warm. Chapter 100. Since Prince Rong had said so, he should have the intention to return the treasured sabers to him. Thinking of this, his eyes unconsciously revealed a fervent look. Prince Rong thought to himself, boy, the older the ginger, the spicier it is. You want to follow me? You are still too young. I don't believe that there is nothing that can attract you. It's not hard to get these sabers back. You only need to do one thing for the Rong family, then I'll give them all back to you. I can even lend them to you for the time being when you're doing that thing for the Rong family. Based on your experience, it's not difficult to do this. Are you willing to do it? Nian Bing thought for a moment. Although he was eager to get the treasured sabers back, he didn't panic. It's not a big deal to do one thing for you at the cost of the treasured sabers. However, it can't be against morality or against my will. Tell me what you want first, and I will decide whether to do it or not. Prince Rong smiled indifferently and said, It's very simple. I want you to take the place of Rong Bing Yun and participate in the competition in a month. Use your mimicry magic. When you participate in the competition, you have to represent the Rong family. Nian Bing stared blankly for a moment, then said resolutely, No, absolutely not. I can't agree to this. Prince Rong frowned and said, Don't you want your treasured sabers back? You should know that although I have promised to let you go, treasures of that level are hard to come by. Nian Bing said, It's not that I don't want them back, but I can't represent the Rong family in this competition. Because I am a participant of this competition. Prince Rong was shocked. What? You are a participant? Which country are you representing? Nian Bing looked up at him and said slowly, I am representing the Ice Moon Empire. Of course, I can't represent the Ice God Tower. Instead, it's the Ice Moon Empire's Magicians Guild, which is always at the bottom of the list. As he spoke, he took out his number 10 tag from his space ring and placed it on the desk in front of Prince Rong, then continued, My second master is the president of the Ice Water Empire's Magic Guild, Wind Archmage Long Ji. I owe him a debt of gratitude. I am an elder of the Ice Moon Empire's Magic Union. Looking at the number plate on the desk, Prince Rong suddenly smiled. Looking at his smile, Nian Bing's heart was filled with a strange feeling. When she was young, she really wanted to see her grandfather's smile. However, all of her childhood memories were not as much as what she saw today. Unfortunately, in her heart, he was no longer her grandfather. Prince Rong said, I can't deny that you're very smart. If I'm not mistaken, you want to use the Ice Moon Empire's Magic Union to deal with the Ice God Tower? This time, you came to participate in the competition to deal a blow to the Ice God Tower's arrogance, right? But, are you sure you can win against the representative of the Ice God Tower? Nian Bing's heart shook. As expected of the Huarong Empire's #1 imperial teacher, he was able to see so many things from this small number plate. Although he was shocked, he didn't show it on his face. He said indifferently, There are some things in life that one can't lose. Even if the representative of the Ice God Tower is strong, I don't believe that she can reach the realm of Archmage at the age of 25. You've seen my mimic magic. As long as the opponent is a Archmage, I have a chance to win with my skills. If I can't win, I don't know if you've heard of a forbidden spell that costs you to curse yourself. What? Nian Bing's first words didn't surprise Prince Rong, but her last words made Prince Rong stand up from his seat. You learned the life curse? Where did you learn it from? Prince Rong couldn't be more familiar with the life curse. It was a forbidden spell that was used to put one's life on the line. In the past, he had a friend who knew this spell from somewhere. In a crisis, that friend used the life curse to burn his own life to save Prince Rong. Therefore, he was very attached to this curse. Nian Bing said calmly, I'm sorry, Prince Rong. I can't tell you this. You just need to know that I know this spell. I'm determined to win this competition. Prince Rong sighed and looked at Nian Bing with sparkling eyes. This grandson of his had brought him too much shock. Tian you went, but you brought back such an outstanding grandson. Are you blaming me? Maybe Nian Bing is right. I was too stubborn and self-opinionated. I only thought about myself and my family. I didn't think about your feelings. A person's personality would change with age. If it were 10 years ago, Prince Rong would have locked Nian Bing up. However, it was different now. He was already old. He was already in his 80s, and he had changed from liking peace to liking liveliness. In particular, he valued his family much more than before. Looking at the handsome and tall grandson in front of him who refused to acknowledge him, and his son who had almost passed away, his heart softened. There was a flash of light, and the unsweet-looking prince used some kind of spatial magic item to summon a 6-colored light on his desk. The entire study room was instantly filled with a layer of treasure aura. It was Nian Bing's 6 magic sabers. Perhaps the manufacturer had sensed Nian Bing's aura, as the 6 divine sabers were vibrating at the same time. The proud heaven saber even let out a faint humming sound. Nian Bing couldn't hide the excitement in his heart when he saw the 6 sabers. His gaze landed on the light of the sabers, as if he was looking at his best friends. Take them. No matter if you admit it or not, you are my grandson. You or Rong Bing will be the final champion. You will help me embarrass the Ice God Tower. However, if you don't want to get into trouble, think of a way to change your appearance after you leave here. Prince Rong's gaze softened as he looked at Nian Bing, waiting for him to take his things. Nian Bing looked at Prince Rong in a daze. She never thought that she would be able to take back the 6 swords so easily. Her eyes flashed, and finally, the temptation of the treasured swords dispelled the doubts in her heart. She put the 6 swords into her spatial ring one by one. Prince Rong, I have to go. Prince Rong nodded and said, You can go. You are wearing Rong Bing's clothes now. With your similar appearance, no one will stop you. I think we will meet again soon. Taking a deep breath, she looked deeply into Prince Rong's deep eyes. Nian Bing found that the hatred in her heart had faded a little. She couldn't help but think to herself, was this the feeling of blood being thicker than water? Even if she hated him, even if he had done many wrong things to her and her father in the past, he was still her grandfather. Now, Nian Bing understood why her father didn't resist when facing Prince Rong. Without saluting, she turned and walked towards the door. When she opened the door to the study, her footsteps stopped. If I avenge my parents, perhaps I will return to this home. Nian Bing's figure disappeared. Prince Rong sat back in his chair, as if he had suddenly aged a few years. His deep eyes became blank and his hands trembled slightly. Tian'er, are you really dead? Don't worry, I'll get justice for you. You're my son after all. It seems that I will have to spend the rest of my remaining years in the midst of battle. Seeing Nian Bing again, knowing that his son was dead, Prince Rong had already made a decision. Raising his head, he looked towards the distant north. Wait for me, we will have a chance to meet again. Not long after Nian Bing walked out of the room, she met Rong Bing, who was anxiously waiting. When Rong Bing saw that Nian Bing was unharmed, he immediately let out a sigh of relief. How was it? Did grandfather make things difficult for you? Nian Bing shook her head and said, No. And he even returned my knife to me. Brother, there is something I have to tell you. I will also be participating in the new Star Magician competition in a month. Rong Bing didn't care and said, That's good. Since grandfather chose to let you participate, it means that your strength is above mine. Nian Bing, it seems that you haven't wasted these years. No, brother, you misunderstood. Although I will be participating, I will not be representing the Huarong Empire. I will be representing the Ice Moon Empire's Magician Guild. Maybe we will meet in the competition. Rong Bing frowned and said, You will be representing the Ice Moon Empire's Magician Guild? It doesn't matter. Even if we meet in the competition, it won't be a big deal. Nian Bing grabbed Rong Bing's shoulder. Brother, promise me that if we meet in the competition, you won't go easy on me, okay? Rong Bing's eyes flashed with a trace of a smile. Don't worry, I won't go easy on you. But I hope that we won't meet too early. That way we can get rid of more obstacles, right? Nian Bing clearly didn't expect Rong Bing to be so unconcerned about the competition. Brother, if I win in the end, will you blame me if I win? Rong Bing laughed and said, Do you think I am that kind of person? The championship is won by one's ability. If you win the championship, it only means that you have the ability. I will only be happy for you. Then I will be leaving. Prince Rong didn't make things difficult for me. Do you remember the address I gave you? If you need anything, you can find me there. There was no need for her to stay. Rong Bing nodded and said with a smile, Then I won't see you out. You can leave the same way you came in. It seems that I will have to hide for a while before appearing again. Nian Bing smiled and said, That's right. We really look alike. But, big brother, you seem to have a lot of romantic debts. On the first day I arrived in Dution City, I was mistaken by two of your close female friends. In the future, if the sisters-in-law mistook me for you, it will be troublesome. Listening to Nian Bing's teasing, Rong Bing couldn't help but blush. Don't talk nonsense. I am not married yet. How can you have sisters-in-law? How can I have so many close female friends? Who did you meet? Nian Bing said, one is Brother May's younger sister, and the other is called Enoch. Thanks to you, Miss Enoch also gave me a very useful magic item. She even paid for it for me. Brother, if you see her next time, you have to thank her. Rong Bing smiled bitterly and said, so you are talking about the two of them. Miss May and I don't have anything going on. It's just that she keeps pestering me. Her brother only knows how to add fuel to the fire. Nian Bing's eyes moved and smiled. Then you are saying that Miss Enoch has something going on with you? Rong Bing sighed softly and said, it's just a political marriage. Her full name is Enoch Hua. She is the current Emperor Hua Tian's most beloved granddaughter. We have been engaged since we were young. In another 2 years we will be married. Luckily, my luck is not bad. Enoch does not have the arrogance of the imperial family. However, you can even fool her. It seems that the two of us are really alike. Nian Bing smiled and said, now I am relieved. It's not a big deal to receive a gift from my sisters-in-law. When you get married, I will definitely give you a big gift. Alright, you just escaped from grandfather's place, and you are already smiling. Hurry up and leave. It won't be good if we meet other people. Rong Bing said with a smile. Nian Bing sighed softly and said, brother, do you know? I haven't been so relaxed for a long time. It feels good to be with you. Before, I had to rely on myself for everything. Now that I have seen you, at least I have believers in my heart. I don't have to wear a mask anymore. Brother, I am leaving. Take care. Nian Bing squeezed his brother's shoulder and turned to leave. When he returned to the inn, it was already afternoon. Nian Bing's neck was already drumming. He didn't feel it before because he was nervous, but now that he was relaxed, the feeling of hunger kept attacking him. He only recovered 30% of his mental strength, making him feel very tired. He was too lazy to go out and eat, so he casually ordered some food in the inn. Hearing these ordinary food, he couldn't help but miss his cooking skills. Recently, he had been busy practicing magic and felt that he owed his stomach a lot. After this competition, he must make a good meal to comfort himself and let his brother have a taste of his cooking. After the meal, meditation took up most of Nian Bing's time. When he woke up from meditation, his magical power and mental strength had been fully recovered. The feeling of magic being fully recovered was really good. Nian Bing didn't continue to meditate, and took out the magic notes that Rong Bing gave him from the space ring to read. Although the two of them walked different paths of cultivation, Rong Bing was still a magic shooter after all. From his notes, Nian Bing saw a lot of Rong Bing's understanding of fire magic. These detailed annotations were much better than the magic books. Soon, Nian Bing was engrossed in reading. Just like when he was in the library, he was fully immersed in the knowledge of magic. However, this situation didn't last for too long, because there was a knock on the door. Nian Bing, are you there? Rong Bing's familiar voice came from outside the door, waking Nian Bing from his reading. He hurriedly jumped off the bed and walked a few steps to the door to welcome Rong Bing in. Brother, why are you here? The new magician competition is about to begin. Don't you need to practice more? Nian Bing looked at her brother with some surprise. Rong Bing smiled and said, the effect of last-minute practice is limited after all. I have confidence in myself. Take a look at what this is. As he spoke, he took out a book and handed it to Nian Bing. To be precise, it wasn't a real book, but a stack of paper threaded with thread. Nian Bing took a look and saw a few big words on the first page, complete collection of ancient magic arrays and annotations. When he opened it again, he saw that the handwriting on the paper was still fresh. This was obviously a copy of a book. Looking up, Nian Bing saw that Rong Bing's eyes were bloodshot. Without asking, she knew what her brother had done. Nian Bing's eyes were moist. "Brother, Rong Bing smiled and said, "Take a look and see if you can use it. You must be better than me in magic arrays. I fainted when I saw those complicated symbols. You have to work harder. I think this book should be enough for you to study for a while. I copied it from more than a dozen books on magic arrays. They are all extremely complicated ancient magic arrays. The annotations were left behind by a few grandfathers in the past. The explanations are very detailed. It should be very useful to you." Nian Bing held the paper tightly in her hand. This was the result of Rong Bing's sleepless night. 12 years had passed, but her brother hadn't changed. He was still as good to her as before. "All right, we're brothers. If you say anything grateful, don't blame me for falling out with you. You're finally back. Let's go. I'll take you out to taste the delicacies of our capital. Magic research isn't urgent. It's not good to be too tired." As he spoke, he pulled Nian Bing and walked out. That's right. There was no need for thanks between brothers. Some things were better done with actions than with words. Nian Bing carefully put the stack of paper and the notebook into her spatial ring. Then, she followed Rong Bing out of the inn. Before leaving the inn, Nian Bing used her newly obtained brooch to change her appearance and hair. Her hair turned black. Under the effect of the brooch, there were some subtle changes to his face. His facial features only changed a little, but when added together, he was completely different from before. He was still a handsome young man, but he no longer resembled Rong Bing. "Brother, you've worked hard for a night. You don't have to entertain me. Go back and rest. Maintaining good mental strength is a must for a magician." Nian Bing saw a trace of fatigue in Rong Bing's eyes. She couldn't bear it. It was all because of her. Rong Bing smiled and said, "All right, even if you don't eat, I'll eat. You know that I've worked hard for a night. How can I not properly reward myself? It's almost noon. After lunch, I'll go back and meditate." Since he had already said so, Nian Bing couldn't reject Rong Bing's kindness. The two of them took large strides and walked towards the most prosperous city center of the capital city. As they walked, Rong Bing explained the surrounding buildings to Nian Bing. He was like a guide. Other than the occasional tiredness in his eyes, it was hard to tell that he hadn't slept at all. "Look, our destination is in front of us. This restaurant is rather famous. Although it's not big, their food is definitely top-notch and cheap. I've always been picky, but I'm a regular here. Even Grandpa Lien often gets his servants to buy food from here." Rong Bing pointed to a shop not far away as he spoke. Nian Bing looked over and saw that not far away, there was a 2-story shop that was as crowded as a marketplace. There was actually a long queue outside, and there were 2 large golden words on the signboard above the shop: "Extremely fresh." When he saw this, he couldn't help but smile and say, "This shop is really arrogant. What do they do? Seafood?" Rong Bing shook his head and said, "Of course not. Seafood can be found everywhere, but this place is unique. Let's go, I won't lie to you. You'll know once you try it." As he spoke, Rong Bing pulled Nian Bing around the long line and arrived in front of the shop. The waiter who was in charge of maintaining order at the entrance immediately came up to them when he saw them. "Young prince, you're here. Let's go to the same place." In front of outsiders, Rong Bing didn't smile warmly at Nian Bing. His face was covered with a layer of ice. He didn't even bother to speak and only nodded. The waiter seemed to be used to him being like this and quickly led the two into extremely fresh. Someone in the long line at the entrance said in surprise, "Didn't they say that there was no room inside? Why did they go in?" Another person disdainfully said, "Little guy, you must be new. You don't even know Prince Rong's young prince. Prince Rong's family serves the country and the people. If they refuse to eat, we won't let them. You won't starve to death if you eat a little later." Although the latter person's words were very rude, the person who spoke first didn't even dare to fart. He quickly lowered his head and obediently continued to line up. Nian Bing and Rong Bing walked into extremely fresh. As soon as they walked in, a strong medicinal fragrance hit them in the face. Nian Bing's nose twitched and her eyes couldn't help but reveal a look of surprise. From this mixed fragrance, he actually couldn't tell what the ingredients were. The reason was simple. It was because there were too many ingredients in this mixed fragrance. It wasn't something that could be determined in a short period of time. This hotel was very special. Every table was separated by bamboo curtains. They could only vaguely see that there were people inside, but they couldn't see clearly. The waiter led Nian Bing and Rong Bing to the innermost table on the first floor by the window. When they jumped over the other tables, they could see through the bamboo curtains that there were already people inside. Only this table was empty. This location was very good. As long as they lifted the bamboo curtains, they could clearly see everything on the street. Although there were many people in the restaurant, it wasn't noisy. Rong Bing smiled and said, "It's just the two of us. Let's sit here. Although it's not a single room, I like the fresh air here. The private rooms on the second floor can seat more than 10 people. We don't need one." Hearing Rong Bing's simple words, Nian Bing couldn't help but have a better understanding of this older brother of hers. With his identity as a little prince, it wasn't a big deal for him to leave a private room for many years. But he only left a small table. This kind of simple style was what Nian Bing liked. Rong Bing raised his head and said to the waiter, "It's the same as usual. But today I want 8 more sets of ingredients. You can choose. I want the best." The waiter agreed and turned to leave. After a while, a large clay pot was brought out. In front of the clay pot was a square iron box. It was unknown what was inside. The waiter skillfully opened one side of the square box. He took out a lighter and lit it. Immediately, with a puff, flames came out of the box and roasted the bottom of the clay pot. Nian Bing looked at the small iron box in shock. She didn't understand how it was done. Rong Bing saw the doubt in her heart. He smiled and said, "This is the first method of this restaurant. The method is actually very simple, but the cost is very high. So, don't think that this restaurant is small. In fact, the food here is more expensive than the restaurants outside. Do you know what's inside this iron box? It's a high degree of strong liquor. It hasn't been blended in any way. If it's ignited with fire, it will naturally become the best heating material. Its biggest characteristic is that it doesn't smoke." Liquor. Hearing this word, Nian Bing couldn't help but feel her heart beat faster. As a top chef, he couldn't help but think of a lot of things. It wasn't just heating. At the same time, he could also think of many cooking methods. If the rich liquor was used in the dishes, as long as it was used properly, it would definitely have a very good effect. When Nian Bing was thinking about his cooking skills, the waiter opened the lid of the clay pot and turned to walk out. The rich aroma attracted Nian Bing to look at the pot. He was surprised to find that it was actually a pot of porridge. Under the heat of the fire, dense bubbles were rolling. The aroma was coming from the porridge. Nian Bing sniffed and couldn't help but praise. "Good porridge. Although the surface is plain porridge, there's thick juice made from old hens. In addition, there are some specially selected herbs ground into powder. Let me think, there should be wolfberry, Panax noto ginseng. And there are 1 or 2 things that I can't smell." This time it was Rong Bing's turn to be surprised. "Brother, have you come here to eat before? How come you know more than me? After eating so many times, I still don't know what's in his porridge." Nian Bing smiled and said, "Brother, your brother is not only a magician, but also a chef. If there's a chance, I'll let you taste my cooking." While they were talking, the waiter came up again. There were 8 dishes of ingredients on the large tray in his hand. There were 4 kinds of vegetables and 4 kinds of meat. The vegetables were chrysanthemum flower, rape, lettuce, and water spinach. The 4 kinds of meat were beef, mutton, chicken, and pork. Whether it was the vegetables or the meat, they were all raw and didn't go through any processing. Seeing this scene, Nian Bing couldn't help but be surprised. Don't tell me it's porridge? Rong Bing picked up the plate of chrysanthemum flour and put it into the porridge and said with a smile, Yes, it's porridge. The porridge itself is very good. Every time you add a new ingredient, the taste will change. It's absolutely delicious. Moreover, the nutritional value is also very high. While speaking, he used a spoon to stir the pot, so that the chrysanthemum flour and the porridge fully merged together. This was the first time Nian Bing saw this kind of novel eating method, so he couldn't help but be very interested. The chrysanthemum flour was very easy to cook. When it was hot, it shrank. Rong Bing put a bowl in front of him. At the same time, he also put a bowl for himself. Then he put a plate of pork. Quickly taste it. Didn't you say you're a chef? How about you taste the delicious porridge? The delicious porridge and vegetables changed the taste. Ling Nianbing was pleasantly surprised. These days, it was the first time he ate such delicious food. After a while, a bowl of delicious porridge was already in his stomach. Rong Bing continued to put plates of ingredients into the pot. Just as he said, every time he added a new ingredient, the taste of the porridge would change. When the porridge in the pot was reduced to a certain level, the waiter would add the prepared porridge. After the first 8 plates of ingredients were eaten, there were 8 plates of various kinds of seafood, such as shrimp, squid, crab meat, and so on. The taste changed more frequently. Nian Bing and Rong Bing were both hot-blooded youths. The two of them had a big appetite. They ate 3 pots of porridge and 16 plates of ingredients before they stopped in satisfaction. Brother, this is really a good place. Seeing this cooking method has inspired me a lot. It's really worthy of being called the 100-flavor porridge. Nian Bing looked at the empty pot in front of him in admiration. At this time, the liquor in the iron box below had been burned out. The waiter brought a plate of fruit for the two of them to drink. Nian Bing ate 2 pieces of fruit and said, Brother, I need to go to the toilet. Wait for me for a while. Rong Bing laughed and said, You're going to the toilet after eating. You're really straightforward. Go quickly, go out and turn right. Go to the end and turn left. You'll see the place of reincarnation of the 5 grains. After saying that, he winked at Nian Bing. Nian Bing got up and left. Rong Bing's eyes revealed a knowing smile as he leisurely ate the fruit. At this time, he suddenly heard some noise outside. He couldn't help but lift the bamboo curtain and look outside. He saw that the waiter responsible for maintaining order outside was politely declining a young girl. Seeing this young girl, even the arrogant Rong Bing couldn't help but be a little stunned. This young girl was too beautiful. Although her aqua blue dress wasn't very neat, it couldn't hide her peerless beauty. Her pink long hair was scattered behind her back, looking a little messy. Her travel-worn appearance made people feel sorry for her. Her beautiful face was covered with a layer of frost. She was slightly angry and said, I haven't been here for a long time. You have so many rules here. I'm not eating here. Can't I take it away? I've traveled a long way and I'm very hungry. The waiter was also fascinated by the young girl's appearance. However, due to the strict rules of the restaurant, he had to say helplessly, I'm sorry, miss. We have rules here. No takeout. You can see that there's such a long line outside. If you want to eat here, please line up at the back. We can't break the rules. As soon as the waiter said that, before the young girl could say anything, someone in the crowd in the line suddenly said, Miss, come to my table. It's almost my turn. If you don't mind, why don't you eat at the same table with us? As soon as the waiter said that, there was a burst of agreement. A cold light flashed in the young girl's eyes. No, thank you for your kindness. I don't believe that there's no place to eat in this big city. Chapter 101. Looking at the disappointed expression on the girl's face, Rong Bing felt a rare sense of pity. He said loudly through the window, Miss, we have finished our meal. If you don't mind, please come in. The girl raised her head and looked at Rong Bing. When she saw Rong Bing's handsome face, her whole body shook violently. Her beautiful eyes turned red in an instant. Her lips moved as if she wanted to say something, but she couldn't. Rong Bing was startled when he saw her expression. He clearly didn't know her. Why was she looking at him like that? He couldn't help but feel scared. He hurriedly signaled to the waiter outside to lower the bamboo curtain. Since the young prince of the Rong residence had spoken, the waiter didn't dare to delay. He hurriedly led the girl into the restaurant. After a while, they arrived at the table of Rong Bing and Nian Bing. When the bamboo curtain was lifted, Rong Bing only saw a blur in front of him. The girl was already 1 foot away from him. Before he could understand, the girl had already thrown herself into his arms. Rong Bing turned pale with fright. Although he had a good impression of this extremely beautiful girl, he had always been self-disciplined. When he suddenly encountered such a situation, he subconsciously turned around and stood up from the chair. The girl's forward momentum was very strong. When she missed, she immediately lost her balance. Rong Bing saw her supporting herself with one hand on the chair and actually stood upside down. Before he could react, the girl was already standing in front of him again. There was a layer of anger in her beautiful eyes. Nian Bing, you. The girl's body trembled slightly. She was Feng Nu, who had been searching for Nian Bing. She had almost never rested on her way here. When she arrived at the capital city, her body finally couldn't take it anymore. She happened to see that this restaurant was doing very well, so she thought that the food would be delicious. So when she was about to eat, the scene outside happened. Suddenly, she saw Nian Bing sticking her head out of the window. Feng Nu immediately felt sad and happy at the same time. Nian Bing really didn't die. He really didn't die. She couldn't wait to enter the hotel, but she didn't expect to be rejected by Nian Bing. Hearing Feng Nu call out the 2 words, Nian Bing, Rong Bing realized that she must have misunderstood. Just as he was about to explain, the bamboo curtain was lifted and Nian Bing came in from outside. As soon as he entered the door, he saw Feng Nu at first glance and his eyes immediately revealed a light of surprise. He hurried forward a few steps and opened his arms to hug Feng Nu. At this time, Feng Nu was in a fit of anger. Seeing a strange man coming towards her, she didn't think and raised her hand to slap him. Nian Bing had forgotten that he had changed his appearance. With his ability, how could he avoid Feng Nu's attack without using magic? Bang! Nian Bing was sent flying by Feng Nu's slap. He crashed through a bamboo curtain and heavily fell on the table next door. The table couldn't withstand the impact and immediately shattered. Fortunately, the guests at the table had just paid the bill and left, so they weren't affected. Although in a fit of anger, Feng Nu was still rational. Although her slap wasn't light, she still held back. Nian Bing spat out a mouthful of blood. He was stunned by Feng Nu's slap, but with the body modified by Garamandi's, he didn't suffer too much damage. He barely managed to crawl up from the sawdust. When Rong Bing saw that his brother was injured, his eyes became cold. With a whoosh, flames rose around his body, and he stepped in front of his brother. Feng Nu looked at Rong Bing's angry and unfamiliar eyes. You, Nian Bing, don't you recognize me? Don't misunderstand. Nian Bing walked out from Rong Bing's side. With one hand on her chest, she said, Feng Nu, I am Nian Bing. He is my brother. Feng Nu was stunned. She looked at Nian Bing in confusion. The flames on Rong Bing's body disappeared. Nian Bing said with a smile that wasn't a smile, Okay. This time, it's my turn to pretend to be you. Nian Bing looked at the waiters who hurried over and said in a low voice, This isn't the place to talk. Let's go back to the inn first. At this time, Feng Nu was much more clear-headed. She had already recognized Nian Bing's voice. She also saw the slight differences between Nian Bing and Rong Bing, but the doubts in her heart became stronger. Rong Bing said to the waiters, It's fine here. If there's any damage, let me pay for it. Let's go. The 3 of them left Ji Xian Hotel together and returned to the inn as fast as they could. As soon as they entered her room, Nian Bing immediately reached into her clothes and pressed the brooch on her chest. She changed back to her original appearance. Looking at the 2 identical Nian Bing in front of her, Feng Nu was completely stunned. You too? Melting Ice smiled and said, Miss, you must have misunderstood. Nianbing and I are brothers. Our fathers are twins. We've looked very similar since we were young. It's no wonder you mistook us for each other. However, you have to be more careful next time. Don't hug the wrong guy. Nianbing, I'm tired. I'll go back and rest. You talk to this girl. After that, Nianbing smiled strangely and left the inn. After Rongbing left, Feng Nu looked at Nianbing said, What's going on? The two of you. Nianbing sighed and went forward to hold Feng Nu's hand. She led her to the bedside and said, Feng Nu, listen to my explanation. That person just now was my brother. Just like he said, we look very similar. He has a very high status in Dutian City. In order to avoid unnecessary trouble, I bought a magic item that can change my appearance. It's really a coincidence. A few days ago, my brother's fiancée mistook me for someone else. I didn't expect that you would mistake him for someone else. Feng Nu's pretty face turned red. She rolled her eyes at Nianbing and said, Does your chest still hurt? At that time, Nianbing grabbed Feng Nu's hand and said, It's okay. My skin is very thick. When I see you, all my injuries are healed. Feng Nu, did you come here specially to find me? Do the elders in your clan know about this? Feng Nu's eyes turned red. Thinking of the worries she had for the past few days, she couldn't help but throw herself into Nianbing's arms. She hugged him tightly, buried her face in his chest, and burst into tears. Nianbing was confused by Feng Nu's crying. For a moment, he didn't know what to say. He hugged her delicate body back and felt her elastic body. His heart was filled with love and pity. Nianbing's warm embrace made Feng Nu feel very relieved. The grievances in her heart completely evaporated in her crying. Gradually, she and Nianbing's hearts continued to grow. Feng Nu slowly raised her head. Nianbing was also looking down at her. Both of their bodies trembled at the same time. Nianbing could no longer hold back the feelings in his heart. He lowered his head and kissed those bright red lips deeply. Feng Nu struggled a little at first, but she soon softened under Nianbing's passion. She wrapped her arms around his waist and hooked them around his neck. There was no need for words. In this deep kiss, the feelings between them had been sublimated. Both of their hearts were filled with love for each other. After a long time, their lips parted. Feng Nu shyly lowered her head. She found that she didn't know when she had sat on Nianbing's lap. There seemed to be something hard touching her bottom. Her face was as red as an apple. Feng Nu's heart trembled violently. She wanted to get up, but she couldn't summon any strength in her body. Nianbing hugged Feng Nu, who was in close contact with him. His reason was struggling. Feng Nu was too tempting for him. In order to divert his attention, he stuttered. Phoenix Maiden, you still haven't told me how you left. Where are the elders of your clan? Could it be that they came here too? Feng Nu shook her head and said softly, Let go of me first. Let me get up. Otherwise, how can I speak? Nianbing suppressed the reluctance in his heart. He carried Feng Nu and placed her beside him. Without physical contact, his impulsive emotions were indeed soothed. Feng Nu shyly looked at Nianbing and said, I specially ran out to look for you. You could say that I snuck out. That day, Elder Kong said that you were dead. At that time, I wanted to look for your corpse, but I was knocked out by Elder Su and brought back to the clan. He then locked me in the clan's sealed house. Do you know how sad I was? Later on, for some unknown reason, I actually managed to break the seal. At that time, I didn't know whether I should be happy or sad. I immediately ran to Allen City to look for your corpse. At that time, I thought that no matter what, I had to bury you so that you could rest in peace. After that, I would mourn for you. But who knew that I couldn't find your corpse no matter how hard I searched? Holding on to a sliver of hope, I entered Allen City. I thought that since you appeared in the Duke's mansion, there might be news of you there. Hearing this, Nianbing couldn't help but interject, Then, did you see my godmother? The Feng Yen of your clan? Feng Nu shook her head and said, no. When I entered the Duke's mansion, I saw the Duke's mansion. When I arrived at the Duke's mansion, I met Zi Qingjian. He told me that you were in the capital Sky City. I calculated the time and realized that you weren't dead. Nianbing, do you know how happy I was at that time? At that time, I immediately rushed to the capital Sky City and naturally didn't enter the Duke's mansion. I also heard about Senior Feng Yan's matter. Actually, it's not about who's right or wrong. She chose her true love, which was why the clan couldn't tolerate her. The elders weren't around, so how could I make things difficult for her? You don't have to worry. Nianbing knew that Feng Nu had misunderstood her meaning, but she didn't explain. She couldn't help but hold Feng Nu's fair and slender hand again, and said in a low voice, "What about you? Are you willing to give up everything in the clan to be with me?" Feng Nu, I have something to say to you the last time we met. Feng Nu's body trembled. She suddenly hurriedly covered Nianbing's mouth and said, "No, don't say it. Nianbing, I'm sorry. I can't." Nianbing was stunned and said, "Why?" Feng Nu, don't tell me you. No, Nianbing, if I didn't have you in my heart, why would I? But the Feng people can't do without me. Perhaps in the eyes of outsiders, the Feng people are very powerful, but how could they understand the hardships of the Feng people? The Feng people were led by 5 elders. The 5 elders were in charge of the entire clan. The arrangement of the 5 elders wasn't originally planned. It was because of the Phoenix Nirvana ceremony. Originally, when Senior Feng Yan's father, the first elder, passed away, Senior Feng Yan became the hope of the clan. There was still plenty of time. As long as she could reach the 3rd transformation of the Phoenix's 9 transformations, the illusory Phoenix demonic body, she would be able to deal with the changes during the ceremony. However, she left the Feng people because of her own feelings. The Phoenix Nirvana ceremony isn't just an opportunity for the Feng people. At the same time, it's also a test for the Feng people. If the ceremony can't be completed, the entire Feng people will be destroyed. In less than 2 years, the ceremony will begin. Nianbing, if you really have me in your heart, can you wait for me for 2 years? 2 years later, as long as I can help the Feng people pass the Phoenix Nirvana ceremony, I will put everything aside and be with you. Nianbing's eyes flashed. She pulled away Feng Nu's hand from her mouth and said, "Feng Nu, being with me won't affect your relationship with the Feng people. I won't ask too much of you. As long as you are willing, you can return to the Feng people at any time. You can also participate in the Phoenix Nirvana ceremony in 2 years. This won't affect the feelings between us. Feng Nu, although you don't want me to say it, I still want to tell you that I love you. Perhaps it's love at first sight. Since the first time I saw you, your appearance has been deeply imprinted in my heart. At that time, you were a mystery to me. Afterwards, as I came to know everything about you, your figure became clearer and clearer in my heart. However, I didn't dare to face my feelings. Because I wanted to take revenge, I was afraid of implicating you. At the same time, I didn't dare to give you a promise of feelings, just like you are now. However, I now understand what Master once said. When feelings come, nothing can stop them. No matter what will happen in the future, Feng Nu, I will tell you everything. I love you." He said the last 3 words very clearly, pausing after each word, his voice filled with sincerity. Feng Nu's delicate body trembled as tears flowed down her face. "Nianbing, I love you too." These few words sounded a little difficult coming out from her mouth, but when the last word was said, Feng Nu seemed to have been freed from a burden, and once again returned to Nianbing's embrace. An aura of happiness revolved around their bodies, and they both felt that their hearts were full. "Nianbing, 2 years, are you willing to wait for me for 2 years?" Feng Nu whispered in Nianbing's embrace. Nianbing smiled and shook his head, saying, "I'm not willing, but I can promise you that I won't affect your participation in the Phoenix Nirvana ceremony." When the time comes, I can even accompany you. Feng Nu's charming face suddenly flushed red, as she lowered her head and said, But, Nian Bing, you don't know this, but during the Phoenix Nirvana ceremony, if the new Elder Hope Phoenix who has not participated in the previous Phoenix Nirvana ceremony, then this new Hope Phoenix must be a virgin. When she said the last few words, her voice was almost muffled. Luckily, Nian Bing's hearing was good, so he could hear it clearly. Nian Bing smiled, as he cupped Feng Nu's charming face, and kissed her lightly on the lips. Silly girl, what kind of person do you think I am? Before I officially marry you, I will restrain myself. Now, you have no reason to refuse to be with me. When two people are together, that kind of thing doesn't have to happen. Between us, it's a heart-to-heart exchange. As long as you are by my side, it's enough. Feng Nu hugged Nian Bing's neck, and took the initiative to offer a kiss. Nian Bing, I never thought that you could understand me so well. Nian Bing laughed mischievously and said, But, if you keep seducing me like this, I'm afraid that I won't be able to control myself, so you have to be careful. Feng Nu was shocked, as she hurriedly jumped out of Nian Bing's embrace. Looking at his smiling face, she then understood that he was deliberately scaring her, and said unhappily, You're really bad. I just agreed to be with you, and you're deliberately teasing me. Nian Bing stood up, his eyes filled with gentleness. You've rushed such a long way, go to bed and sleep for a while. Look, you've lost weight these few days. Oh right, you haven't eaten yet, right? I'll go buy some food for you. Feng Nu said coquettishly, No, I don't want to eat other food, I want to eat what you cook. Nian Bing, do you know when I started to have a good impression of you? It's that concentrated expression when you cooked pigeon meat rice for me, coupled with the delicious pigeon meat rice, that made me have such a deep impression of you. Hearing her say this, Nian Bing couldn't help but bitterly smile. I've heard people say that if you want to control a man's heart, you have to control his stomach first. I never thought that these words would be used the other way around. Feng Nu said with a smile, What, you're not willing to cook for me? Nian Bing deeply looked at her. I'm willing to cook for you forever. Until the day that I'm too old to move. Feng Nu's delicate body trembled. Nian Bing, do you think our love can last long? I'm afraid that the elders won't accept you. Nian Bing smiled indifferently, but his eyes were filled with pride. Feng Nu, the tragedy that happened to my parents will not happen to us. I don't need their approval. When I have absolute strength, as long as you love me, no one else's opinion will be a hindrance between us. Hearing Nian Bing's firm voice and seeing the cold light in his eyes, Feng Nu didn't know why, but she felt uneasy in her heart. She faintly guessed that the shadow of Nian Bing's childhood had always affected his heart. In the depths of his cold heart, it wasn't easy to melt. The death of his parents had always been like a mountain pressing down on his heart. Feng Nu didn't try to persuade Nian Bing because she knew that no matter what she said, it would be better to use her gentleness to gradually warm his heart. With a faint smile, she softly said, Quickly go and make something for me to eat, I'm hungry. As you command, respected wife. After saying this, Nian Bing didn't wait for Feng Nu to act coquettishly and ran out like a wisp of smoke. In a happy mood, he believed that he would definitely be able to make the best food. Not long after, when Feng Nu leaned on the bed drowsily, Nian Bing came back with a plate in his hand. On the plate was a large bowl. Seeing Feng Nu's tired appearance, he couldn't help but feel a burst of heartache. Come, eat first before you sleep. As he said this, he opened the lid of the bowl. Immediately, a strong fragrance filled the room. Feng Nu sat up and rubbed her eyes. Nian Bing, what is this? It smells so good. Nian Bing slightly smiled and said, You've rushed such a long way, naturally you need to replenish your strength. I know you can eat, so I specially made a little more. This is called chicken glutinous rice. It has a good effect on the spleen and stomach, loss of appetite, fatigue and weakness. After eating and sleeping well, your strength will be restored tomorrow. Feng Nu was definitely greedy for Nian Bing's cooking skills. She took the tray from his hand and smelled the fragrance. Suddenly, her appetite was aroused. Regardless of the heat, she sat there and began to eat. Seeing Feng Nu eating without any ladylike demeanor, Nian Bing couldn't help but laugh and said, "Hey, Miss Feng Nu, no matter what, you are still a lady. Why do you look like a little pig now?" Feng Nu ate and vaguely said, "You're the pig. This rice tastes very good. Although it's not as fresh as pigeon meat rice, it's a bit more fragrant and sweet." Nian Bing smiled and said, "How can something made by this great chef be bad? Anyone can make this chicken glutinous rice, but the key is the control of the fire and the amount of ingredient. In addition to chicken and glutinous rice, there are also dates and coconut meat. I originally thought that there wouldn't be any coconut meat here, but I didn't expect that there would be some in the inn. The capital city is extraordinarily prosperous. To make this rice, simply speaking, cut the coconut meat, remove the pits of the dates, shred the chicken, wash the glutinous rice, put them in a pot, add some water, and steam until it becomes rice." Feng Nu swallowed a mouthful of the delicious food and said in surprise, "Is it really that simple? Doesn't that mean I can make it too?" Nian Bing smiled and said, "You can try it once. With me by your side to guide you, the taste won't be too bad." Feng Nu looked at Nian Bing said with vigilance, "I'm not going to do it. Don't try to trick me into cooking. If you teach me how to cook, won't the matter of cooking become my responsibility in the future?" Nian Bing mischievously laughed and said, "Your plot has been seen through. Feng Nu, you're very smart this time. Don't worry, after I get my revenge, we'll find a quiet place to settle down. I'll change my appearance every day to make delicious food for you. I'll really raise you into a little pig, a fat one." When it came to pigs, Nian Bing couldn't help but think of Kitty's pet called Guan. Feng Nu rolled her eyes at Nian Bing and said, "I won't be a pig. With my dookie, as long as I consume a little more, no matter how much I eat, I won't get fat. Oh, by the way, I remember that last time in the Fire Dragon Cave, that girl called Long Ling seemed to have feelings for you." Hearing Feng Nu mention Long Ling, Nian Bing couldn't help but sigh. "Feng Nu, Ling has deep feelings for me. I also received her father's favor. I have her in my heart." Feng Nu lowered her head to eat. After a long while, she said, "Everyone wants to monopolize their lover's feelings. I'm no exception. But that girl loves you very much. I can see that. She's also a good girl. I'm not a jealous woman, but this is the only exception." Hearing the meaning of Feng Nu's words, Nian Bing, who was originally trembling with fear, was suddenly overjoyed. She walked a few steps to Feng Nu's side and sat down. Then, she kissed his pink cheek. She said, "Feng Nu, I know you're the best. Ling is a famous gentlewoman. You two will definitely get along very well in the future." Phoenix Maiden grunted and said, "You're lucky, you little pervert. I really don't know what's so good about you that you can seduce a girl to like you." Nian Bing said with a smile, "Don't you like me too? Perhaps it's because I can cook. I now feel more and more that being a chef is much happier than being a magician. Maybe there are girls who don't like handsome men, but I'm afraid there aren't many girls who don't like to eat, right? Not everyone can enjoy my culinary skills." After a while, a big bowl of rice had been eaten by Feng Nu. She put down the bowl and chopsticks in satisfaction. "I'm so full. It's the first time I'm full after so many days. I'm going to sleep. You go and get another room, okay?" Looking at Feng Nu's somewhat pleading expression, Nian Bing couldn't help but smile. He officially established a relationship with Feng Nu, which made his heart relax a lot. He couldn't help but smile and said, "Why do we need to get another room? Are we afraid of people gossiping? Let others say what they want to say. I want to live with you." Feng Nu said in embarrassment, "How can that be? Didn't you just promise me?" She wasn't afraid of people gossiping. She was afraid that the two of them couldn't control themselves. After all, Feng people had a very important position in Feng Nu's heart. Nian Bing looked at Feng Nu's shy appearance and couldn't help but laugh. "It seems that you are still on guard against me. Don't worry, I never sleep. You sleep on the bed, I will meditate on the side. Feng Nu was relieved. She was so tired that she couldn't care less about Nian Bing's teasing. She pulled the blanket over her delicate body, and after a while, she started to breathe evenly. Seeing Feng Nu fall asleep, Nian Bing was lost in thought. No matter what, Feng Nu was so beautiful that it was suffocating. He didn't forget Yu Ruian's request. The reason why he didn't verify Feng Nu's identity first was because he pitied her and wanted to wait for her to recover before making any plans. Nian Bing leaned forward and kissed Feng Nu's forehead. Then, he sat on the ground beside the bed and began his daily meditation. Feng Nu's arrival made him very excited. It took him almost an hour to enter the state of meditation. 3 days passed quickly. During these 3 days, Feng Nu's body had completely recovered. Nian Bing took her to stroll around Du Tian City every day. The rest of the time was spent studying the magic book Rong Bing gave him and meditating. Ever since Feng Nu came, Nian Bing didn't eat out anymore. He was in charge of their meals. In order not to surprise the inn's chefs, Nian Bing cooked in the room every time. He had magic and the kitchen utensils were all current, so he wasn't afraid of being discovered. Feng Nu became gentler than before. She cared about and protected Nian Bing. Nian Bing always felt so comfortable when he was with her. However, he kept his promise. Other than holding hands and occasionally hugging and kissing, he did not violate the Phoenix Maiden too much. The two of them maintained their relationship as lovers, and both of them were filled with happiness. Today, the two of them strolled around Du Tian City in the morning. After lunch, Nian Bing decided to complete the mission given to him by Yu Ruian. Although he knew that this might cause Feng Nu to leave him temporarily, he couldn't bear to delay it any longer when he thought of Yu Ruian's expression when she talked about her eldest daughter. Feng Nu, I have something to tell you. Nian Bing held Feng Nu's hand and sat beside her. Feng Nu smiled and said, Just say it. Why are you being so secretive? Nian Bing took a deep breath and said, When I talk about this, you must stay calm, okay? No matter what I say, don't be overly agitated. It's not good for your health. Feng Nu laughed and said, I'm not a child. I can control my emotions. Don't tell me you've thought of another confidant and are going to confess to me. Nian Bing smiled bitterly and said, Am I that kind of person? I've already told you what I need to tell you. Your punishment is that you won't have good food to eat tonight. Feng Nu shook Nian Bing's hand and said, All right, tell me quickly. What's the matter? Nian Bing was about to speak when there was a knock on the door. Nian Bing, are you in? Rong Bing came. There was a hint of helplessness in his voice. Nian Bing whispered to Feng Nu, We'll talk about our matter later. My brother is here. After saying that, she got up and opened the door. Rong Bing was not the only one who came. Nian Bing had met Princess Enoch of the Huarong Empire with him. Enoch's eyes widened when she saw Nian Bing. Then she looked at Rong Bing beside her and couldn't help but cover her mouth. Nian Bing looked at her brother in confusion. Brother, this is… Rong Bing smiled bitterly and said, You brat, you've been wandering around with a beauty these past few days and caused me a lot of trouble. Enoch insisted that I have a new lover. I had no choice but to bring her to see you. Enoch, I don't need to explain anymore. The truth is right in front of you. Looking at Rong Bing's helpless expression, Nian Bing couldn't help but laugh. So sister-in-law misunderstood again. Sister-in-law, I still have to thank you for the good things you gave to little brother last time. Enoch walked in front of Nian Bing in a daze. She suddenly raised her hand and pinched Nian Bing's face. She even pulled hard. Nian Bing cried out in pain, Sister-in-law, what are you doing? My face is real. Enoch turned around and looked at Rong Bing. She pretended to pinch Rong Bing's face. Rong Bing was so scared that he hurriedly took 2 steps back. No need to pinch. Didn't you already pinch when you came here? Enoch said in a daze, You two are really brothers? You're not even twins. How can you two look so alike? Nian Bing smiled bitterly and rubbed her face. Sister-in-law, this appearance is innate. My brother and I can't change it. It's not our fault that we look alike. It's fine as long as we don't make a mistake when we enter the bridal chamber in the future. Enoch blushed and said angrily, It's all your fault. I was getting along well with your brother. Who knew that there would be another one? Give me back my brooch. As she said that, she extended her right hand. Nian Bing laughed and said, I'm not giving it back. That brooch is sister-in-law's gift to little brother. I can't call you sister-in-law for nothing. Enoch snorted and said, I haven't married your brother yet, but it's fine if you don't return it. In the future, you can use that thing to change your appearance when you're in Capital Sky City. It'll save me the trouble of recognizing the wrong person. She couldn't help but blush when she recalled Nian Bing saying that they entered the wrong bridal chamber. Nian Bing's smile deepened. It's only a matter of time. Please come in. As she said that, she stepped aside to open the door. Enoch was the first to enter. She happened to face Feng Nu, who had just gotten up. Feng Nu also saw her. When two beauties met, it was inevitable for them to compare themselves. Enoch blinked and looked at Feng Nu. Hello, I'm Enoch. Chapter 102. Enoch didn't know whether to laugh or cry when she saw the scene at the door. Her beloved actually had a younger brother who looked so much like him. She was quite surprised. The Wind Girl smiled and said, Hello, I am Feng Nu. I heard your conversation at the door. When I first arrived at Capital Sky City, I also misunderstood. However, Nian Bing wasn't as lucky as his older brother and was hit by me for no reason. Nian Bing's injuries weren't serious that day, but the bruise on his chest had only healed today. Nian Bing didn't let it go and had Feng Nu massage him for several days. Enoch giggled and walked in front of Feng Nu. You're really beautiful. I originally thought that I was pretty good, but I still can't compare to you. Rong Bing, who had just entered, smiled bitterly and said, This is also the source of your jealousy. Enoch turned her head and rolled her eyes at Rong Bing. Are you very disappointed by my appearance, Rong Bing frowned slightly and said, Why are you saying this? In front of my younger brother and sister-in-law, you should restrain yourself a little. Apart from when he was alone with Nian Bing, there was always a hint of coldness on his face. Enoch pouted and said, What restrain? Feng Nu, let's ignore them. Hurry up and tell me, how did you mistake them for someone else? Seeing the two girls sitting there and chatting, Rong Bing took out a book and handed it to Nian Bing. He said, Let them chat, let's go out for a walk. There have been too many things to do these past few days, so I didn't come over. Nian Bing didn't look at it. He put the book into his spatial ring and said, It's all right. You're the little prince after all. You'll have many things to do anyway. The two brothers walked out of the inn as they spoke. They found a place to sit down in the inn's garden. Nian Bing had already used the brooch to change her appearance before she left the house. Brother, you seem to have something on your mind. Is it because of Miss Enoch? Rong Bing shook his head and said, Enoch is a good girl. Although she is a little impulsive sometimes, her nature is very kind. To be able to get such a good wife in a political marriage, I am already very satisfied. I'm worried about you. Now, some people in the family already know that you're back. There are many people who want to put you under house arrest and search for the location of the Stone of Fire. A cold light flashed in Nian Bing's eyes. What was Prince Rong's reaction? Rong Bing said, Grandpa didn't say anything. He didn't approve, nor did he object. He only said that this matter wasn't urgent. You've been away for so many years, there are some things you don't know. The internal strife in the family was very fierce. Grandfather's side was fine, but father's excellence made the other uncles not dare to have any improper thoughts. However, second grandpa and third grandpa both have several outstanding uncles. They have a great desire for power. Now that grandfather is still alive, everything isn't obvious. But once grandfather is 100 years old, I'm afraid all the conflicts will surface. Father can barely intimidate people of the same generation, but second grandpa and third grandpa are 10 years older than grandfather. When the time comes for them to appear, everything will be hard to say. Nian Bing frowned and said, "Brother, do you have to participate in this kind of family matter? Power is like floating clouds. I prefer to live a free and unrestrained life." Rong Bing sighed and said, "If only I could be like you. But I can't. You don't understand. Power involves a lot of things. Grandfather made the decision to let me and Enoch be together. One of the important reasons was to let father's side establish a relationship with the royal family. If something really happened, it would be easier to react in time." Nian Bing thought for a moment. Suddenly, she raised her head and said coldly, "Brother, actually solving this problem isn't difficult." Rong Bing looked at her in surprise. "You have a way?" Nian Bing said indifferently, "It's very simple. You have military power." Rong Bing's body trembled. "You mean to say that you want me to have military power?" Nian Bing smiled and said, "That's right. There's nothing more practical than military power. If you and eldest uncle can have military power in your hands, who would dare to touch you? If I were you, I wouldn't continue to stay at home. I would ask grandfather for a transfer. The Order of the Flaming Lion is Prince Rong's direct line of descent. They are absolutely loyal to Prince Rong, so you don't have to worry about them. As the saying goes, the onlookers see more clearly than the players involved. If I'm not wrong, most of the people in the family are targeting the Order of the Flaming Lion to make a fuss. Actually, they are too stupid. As long as Prince Rong makes a decision in the end, the Order of the Flaming Lion will definitely obey. Therefore, you don't have to worry about the imperial capital at all. Being transferred out is not only a training for you, but also an opportunity to interact with the outside army corps. If you can build a good relationship with them, it will be extremely important for you and eldest uncle to take over Prince Rong's power in the future." Hearing Nian Bing's words, Rong Bing's eyes shone brightly. As expected, the onlookers see more clearly. "You're right. Right now, our Rong family only has complete control over the Central Army Corps. 60% of the high-ranking officers in the Corps are under our control. Even I am a deputy corps commander in the Central Army Corps in name. As for the other 4 corps, although the Rong family's influence is still there, most of them are controlled by the side branches and some of grandfather's old subordinates. Let me give you a simple explanation of the current power distribution. The Central Army Corps is divided into 3 factions. Among them, my father controls one of the factions, which is also the strongest. The other 2 factions are controlled by the eldest sons of second grandfather and third grandfather respectively. Although their individual strength is not as strong as my father's, they are much stronger together. It is precisely because of this subtle relationship that everyone is asking for the support of the Order of the Flaming Lion. However, the 8 golden lions of the Order of the Flaming Lion have never made a clear stance. According to what you said, they are probably only remaining neutral under grandfather's instructions. However, there are no members of our Rong family fighting in the other 3 corps. After all, they are very far from the imperial capital. Our family's internal strife cannot spread that far. Otherwise, His Majesty will definitely notice. Among the 3 corps, the Northern Corps is the strongest. The Southeastern Corps and the Eastern Corps are about the same. As for father, because he has followed grandfather to the north many times to participate in the war, he has a good relationship with the high-ranking officers of the Northern Corps. When necessary, they will definitely support father. The current commander of the Southeastern Corps is Demon Commander Arclight. This person is very cunning. Moreover, he has always been able to get benefits from both sides. He is also not from our Rong family, so it is hard to say. Upon hearing Rong Bing mention Arclight, Nian Bing couldn't help but interrupt. "Brother, you don't need to think about the Southeastern Corps. I have seen Demon Commander Arclight. He has some special hobbies. In my opinion, he is simply a southern chrysanthemum. Together with a friend of mine, They can be called the northern and southern chrysanthemums. If you were to be transferred there, with your appearance, I am afraid. Rong Bing felt a chill run down his spine. He laughed in spite of himself. Arc Light's special hobbies are already known to everyone. However, he is indeed very capable. To be able to reach his current position, he completely climbed up step by step. Therefore, you must not underestimate this person. His ruthlessness comes from his bones. Nian Bing, you haven't been harassed by him, have you? Nian Bing shrugged her shoulders and said, I haven't. However, I don't want to see him again. Since I can't choose either the northern or southeastern core, then I can only choose the eastern core. However, it is bordered by the Qilu Empire. I am afraid it will not be easy to get promoted. Rong Bing sneered and said, Don't think that our Huarong Empire and Qilu Empire's relationship is so good. This also involves a lot of benefits. However, Qilu Empire is not as strong as us. Therefore, it looks like they have always been relying on us. In fact, the king of Qilu Empire is a very ambitious guy. Once he grasps the opportunity, he may be unfavorable to us at any time. The Huarong Empire is now the #1 empire in the Yangon continent. It is also the target of public criticism. The surrounding empires are all watching us. Therefore, the last military operation against the Ottoman Empire involved the Qilu Empire and gave them a lot of benefit. Otherwise, it would not be so easy. Although the Longmu Empire is strong, it cannot go against the entire continent. Just like the current central core, one side is strong, but there are two sides surrounding it. Although the Qilu Empire and Longmu Empire are not on good terms, if we use our full force against either side, I am afraid that the other side will immediately take action. Nian Bing thought for a while and nodded, so the situation is so complicated. No wonder the Ottoman Empire was not destroyed despite being so weak. The 5 empires on the Yangon continent are like a ring. One move can affect the whole situation. Even if the Huarong Empire has the strength to deal with the 2 surrounding empires, I am afraid they will not dare to act rashly. Rong Bing smiled. I won't hide it from you. In fact, our warmongering grandfather has long wanted to unify the continent. Even the strategy had already been decided. It was nothing more than making friends with those far away and attacking those close by. However, there was only one thing that restricted him from beginning to end, and that was the existence of the Ice Goddess Priestess. No one knew her strength better than his grandfather. As long as the Ice God Tower existed, it would be impossible for the Huarong Empire to rule the entire continent. Perhaps others are afraid of our Order of the Flaming Lion, but the Ice God Tower has hundreds of ice mages and mages. From a certain point of view, the Ice Goddess Priestess' magnificent feat of destroying 100,000 soldiers played a huge role in the continent's current peace. Nian Bing clenched her fists. The Ice Goddess Priestess, one day, I will make her die by my hands. Rong Bing sighed. I understand the hatred in your heart, but before you are certain, you must not act rashly. Oh right, there is one more thing I want to tell you. I heard from grandfather that you are already a magic shooter, and can use many types of magic. However, do you know why you didn't have the slightest chance against grandfather that day? Nian Bing blankly shook her head. That's right. Even if the opponent is a magic shooter, and I have already used all the strongest magic I can use, why did I still lose so miserably in the end? Could it be that there is some secret behind this? Rong Bing lowered his voice. Because, 3 years ago, grandfather finally reached that height. Nian Bing's whole body shook, and her eyes widened in shock. Brother, you mean, he also… Rong Bing made a shushing gesture and said, This is our Rong family's biggest secret. Apart from grandpa's trusted aides, me, father, second grandpa, and third grandpa, no one else knows about it. Even Emperor Huatian doesn't know grandpa's current strength. Think about it, that day you were facing grandfather's self-created 11th level forbidden spell, Purple Flame Lion. How could you have a chance? It was only because grandfather didn't use it that you were able to keep your life. This news shocked Nian Bing too much. She never thought that Prince Rong, who looked much older than before, would actually make a breakthrough in his old age, reaching the realm of God's Descent Master. No wonder she didn't even have the slightest chance. Although magic shooters are considered outstanding mages, how could they contend against the highest level of God's Descent Master? Brother, then do you think grandfather can contend against the Ice Goddess Priest? Rong Bing smiled bitterly. Before they meet again, no one can answer this question clearly. However, the Ice Goddess Priest has been a God's Descent Master for a long time. Ice and fire restrain each other. Who wants to win depends on the depth of their strength. Frankly speaking, I don't think grandfather can win. However, compared to that battle in the past, grandfather's chances are much higher. Nian Bing, this is the family's absolute secret, but I'm not afraid to tell you. Although you don't want to admit it now, you are still a member of the Rong family. Blood is thicker than water. You have the blood of the Rong family flowing in your veins. I won't persuade you, but I will wait for you to come back at any time. Nian Bing was silent. Although she didn't want to admit it, her heart was trembling slightly with pride. Brother, thank you for telling me this. Perhaps I will come back when the Rong family is under the control of my eldest uncle. I hate the Rong family, I hate Prince Rong, but after all, they are not my enemies. Melting Ice patted Nian Bing's shoulder and smiled faintly. We should go back. I think they're almost done talking. I'll remember what you said. After the new magician competition is over, I'll ask Grandpa for a transfer. I'll go to the Dongfang army group. I hope I can gain something there. The two stood up and walked back. At this time, Nian Bing suddenly felt a sense of danger and subconsciously looked in a direction. Rong Bing also felt that something was wrong with Nian Bing. He followed her gaze, but only saw a few faint silhouettes. Not good. Let's go back. Nian Bing cried out in alarm and ran back to the hotel as fast as he could. Because what he felt before was the aura of the Feng people. Rong Bing followed closely behind Nian Bing, but after running for a short distance, he found that he was getting farther and farther away from Nian Bing. He thought to himself, is this brother of mine a magician? Why is his body as strong as a warrior's? Nian Bing was of course a magician. However, his body had been transformed by the Fire Dragon King Garamandes, and was much stronger than ordinary people. This way, it would be easier for him to practice high-level magic. Nian Bing and his brother did not walk far. Soon, Nian Bing returned to the hotel. He did not delay and rushed to his room, but just as he reached the door, he was stopped by two people. They were two young men wearing white warriors' clothes. They had one thing in common, and that was their bright red hair. White clothes and red hair, coupled with their handsome appearance, made them look very heroic. Move aside. Nian Bing's voice was cold with a hint of anger. The two young men only raised their heads to look at him, but did not say anything. Naturally, they did not have the intention to move aside. Nian Bing was angry. He could imagine what happened inside. But, in the room, there was not only his beloved Feng Nu, but also his brother's lover. No matter who it was, he did not dare to imagine what would happen. Feng Nu snuck out on her own. With the Feng people's past conduct, would they let Feng Nu go? Without any hesitation, the roar of the fire god and the sigh of the ice goddess entered Nian Bing's hands at the same time. The ice and fire aura instantly rose. At this time, Nian Bing was very frightening. Behind him, two different colors lit up. The Feng people on the left felt an ice-cold aura, while the Feng people on the right felt the opposite. What they felt was a scorching flame. One ice, one fire. The two extremes appeared at the same time, which immediately made them reveal a surprised expression. Move aside or not, I don't mind tearing down this hotel. Nian Bing's voice seemed to come from the underworld. For Feng Nu, he could do anything. Nian Bing, don't. At this moment of crisis, Feng Nu's voice came from the room. Feng Nu and Enoch followed three people out of the room. Of the 3 Feng people, Nian Bing recognized 2 of them. One of them was Feng Xiang, who tried to assassinate him last time. The other one was Elder Feng Kong, who fought with him until both sides were injured. Both of them had ugly expressions. The 3 Feng people surrounded Feng Nu and Enoch. What happened? Rong Bing rushed back. Feng Kong and Feng Xiang cried out in alarm at the same time. Ah, you didn't die? Nian Bing was stunned. He immediately understood that they recognized the wrong person. At this time, he didn't care about anything else. Whether it was Rong Bing, Feng Nu, or Enoch, he didn't want any of them to be hurt. He immediately pressed the brooch on his chest, revealing his original appearance. Yes, I didn't die. As long as I'm still alive. Don't even think about taking Feng Nu away. Rong Bing looked coldly at the 5 Feng people in front of him. He said indifferently, Nian Bing, this is our territory. Without my permission, you can't take anyone away. Feng Xiang snorted. Both of them look the same. Who do you think you are? Do you think we can't take her away just because you said so? Rong Bing looked at the beautiful Feng Xiang as if he was looking at an inanimate object. He snorted disdainfully. Since the establishment of the Huarong Empire, there's only one person who can take our people away from Dutian City. That's the Ice Goddess Priestess. Unless you think you have reached that level of strength, do you think you can take anyone away? Elder Feng Kong stopped Feng Xiang, who was about to explode, and said, Your Excellency, you seem to be exaggerating. Feng Nu is one of our people. Those who have nothing to do with this, please leave. Otherwise, I can't guarantee that I won't hurt her. Rong Bing's tone was calm, but his body unconsciously emitted a powerful aura, which made Rong Bing secretly surprised. Rong Bing had seen many powerful people. From Feng Kong's aura, he could easily recognize that this older warrior was a master at the level of a swordsman. In the face of such a master, Rong Bing was not afraid at all. What kind of existence was the Rong family in the Huarong Empire? As a young prince, Rong Bing had seen many big scenes. Moreover, the other party was holding a member of the Huarong Empire hostage. With his and Enoch's status, even if there were 10 swordsmen, they might not be able to take one person away from Dutian City, let alone one. Feng Nu's eyes showed a trace of sadness. He looked calmly at Nian Bing and said, Nian Bing, can you not stop the Elder and my people? Elder Kong has already promised me that he won't make things difficult for anyone. He just wants to take me away. Do you still remember what I said to you on the first day we met? Wait for me, okay? Nian Bing's heart ached when he heard Feng Nu's words. His handsome face twitched with anger. If he couldn't even protect the person he loved the most, could he still be considered a man? At this moment, he didn't realize that among the 4 people that Feng Kong had brought, other than Feng Xiang, the other 3 young men were all furious. Feng Nu was the most beautiful woman in the Feng clan and was naturally the target of these young men's pursuit. However, they never thought that Feng Nu would fall in love with an outsider. Moreover, she didn't hesitate to betray her clan and escape for this outsider. Their hatred for Nian Bing had already been unknowingly born. No, unless I die today, no one can take you away from here. Nian Bing's voice was resolute and decisive. There was no room for negotiation. He secretly swore that he would never let Feng Nu leave his side even if he had to use curse magic. Rong Bing pressed Nian Bing's shoulder and said, Brother, calm down. Don't worry, as long as we're still in Dutian City, nothing will happen to anyone. Enoch giggled as if she wasn't being held hostage. That's right. But today was really thrilling and exciting. I haven't experienced this feeling for a long time. Rong Bing frowned and said, Enoch, stop fooling around. Old sir, I'll give you one last chance. Let go of our people and I'll let you leave safely. Otherwise, you'll have to bear the consequences. Feng Kong said indifferently, I've never been afraid of consequences. Young man, don't be too rude. Get out of the way, we're leaving. If it wasn't for him holding them back, the 4 young masters of the Feng people would have already taken action. Although Feng Kong had considered everything thoroughly, this was the capital of the Huarong Empire after all. It guarded the forest, and there was the famous Order of the Flaming Lion. It was naturally best if they didn't alarm the authorities. Rongbing smiled. His smile was very cold and his eyes were like lightning. Enoch giggled and said, "Here you go again, Rongbing. Do you know that your smile is uglier than crying?" Rongbing's face stiffened as he said angrily, "You still have the mood to joke at this time." Enoch curled her lips as she lowered her head and said, "Well, I won't make trouble. Grandpa, come out quickly. Someone is bullying Nonno. If you don't come out, I'll go back and tell my father." After listening to Enoch's words, Feng Kong couldn't help but be surprised. Could it be that there were other people around? Even with his cultivation, he didn't feel anything? At this moment 2 figures, one green and one gray, appeared. Although Feng Kong was able to react, he was only able to block one of them. Bang! A muffled sound resounded in the air. The whole inn trembled. Nian Bing only saw a blur in front of her eyes. Enoch had left her previous position and came with the gray figure to Rongbing's side. Elder Feng Kong took a step back as his eyes lit up. Good cultivation. The green figure retreated to the front of Enoch and said indifferently, "You're also not bad. 9-leaved Do Chi is very deep. May I ask, which elder of the Feng people are you?" Feng Kong's eyes showed a trace of surprise. He obviously didn't expect that his identity would be recognized so easily by the other party. But as an elder of the Feng people, he had always been known for his calmness. He smiled indifferently and said, "I'm Feng Kong, may I know who the 2 of you are?" At this moment, Nian Bing could clearly see the owners of the 2 figures. They were 2 old men who looked to be in their 70s. Their hair and beards were white, and their appearances were ordinary. They were no different from ordinary old men, but their gazes were unusually sharp. Their gazes seemed to have materialized. Even with Nian Bing's extraordinary mental energy, he could not help but evade their gazes. Nian Bing's heart trembled. Jia Ji once told her that no matter what industry, the more ordinary a person looked, the more likely they were to be a top master. Weren't these 2 old men in front of her? Looking at their appearance, there was nothing special about them. But just one of them was able to fight Feng Kong to a draw. Although Feng Kong didn't use the phoenix transformation, such strength was definitely worthy of the name swordsman. The old man in green smiled indifferently and said, "Elder Feng Kong doesn't need to ask, we are just the little master's servants." Enoch pouted like a spoiled child and said, "Who said that? You are obviously my grandfather and second grandfather. Even my grandfather calls you his brothers." Feng Kong saw that the 2 swordsman-level experts in front of him actually called themselves servants. Then looking at Nian Bing and Rongbing, he knew that it would be very difficult to take Feng Nu away today. Just the 2 swordsmen in front of him were very difficult to deal with, not to mention the other side had a powerful magician like Nian Bing. Once Feng Nu turned against them, they might not be able to escape unscathed. Just as Feng Kong was weighing the pros and cons, Rongbing opened his mouth. "I think you can leave now. I don't know what the Feng people are, but I know that this is the capital of the Huarong Empire. Seeing that you are Feng Nu's people, I won't make things difficult for you this time. But if I see you again, don't blame me for being impolite." Seeing that Rongbing's tone was so arrogant, Feng Kong couldn't help but feel angry. He coldly said, "Fine, we will leave first today. But who exactly are you? I would like to ask you some other day. The dignity of the Feng people cannot be insulted by anyone." Rongbing indifferently said, "Those who insult others will be insulted by others. My name is Rongbing. If you want to take revenge, you can go to the Rong Palace to find me. As long as you say my name, everyone in the palace will know." Feng Kong sucked in a breath of cold air. Although he wasn't familiar with the outside world, how could he not know about the Rong family of the Huarong Empire? Looking at Rongbing's appearance, there was no need to ask. His position in the Rong family was naturally not low. and Nian Bing's appearance was so similar to him. Most likely, she was also a member of the Rong family. It seemed that his mission to capture Feng Nu this time wouldn't be easy to complete. Nian Bing indifferently smiled and said, "Elder Feng Kong, before you leave, I will repeat what I said before. Unless I die, don't even think about taking Feng Nu away from me." Feng Xiang and the other three were furious. They simultaneously took a step forward. The scorching aura of 9-leaved Do Qi surged out and enveloped Nianbing and Rong Bing. Nianbing and Rong Bing were not afraid at all. The two of them also took a step forward. Nianbing's ice and fire magic together with Rong Bing's tyrannical flame magic were not inferior to the four people. In terms of momentum, neither side could do anything to the other. Feng Kong deeply looked at Feng Nu and said with a sigh, "Child, you take care of yourself. Let's go." After saying that, he led Feng Xiang and the others to walk out. Nian Bing and Rong Bing didn't stop them and let them leave. Looking at their departing backs, Nian Bing's eyes continuously flashed. He didn't have a good impression of the Feng people. This time, the Feng people sent people to capture Feng Nu. This kind of bad feeling became even more intense than before. A trace of bloodthirsty aura inexplicably rose in his chest. "Little princess, it's all right now. Shouldn't you also return to the palace with us?" The cyan-clothed old man somewhat helplessly looked at Enoch. Enoch thought for a moment and said, "All right, it's indeed not early. Rong Bing, I'll go back first. Remember to come and play with me. Feng Nu, goodbye. I'm really happy to have met you today. I'll go first. Eldest grandpa, second grandpa, let's go." Rong Bing's eyes revealed a trace of gentleness. "Be careful on the road. Don't be too playful and cause trouble for the two grandpas. Do you understand?" Enoch said with some dissatisfaction, "I know. I'm not a child." "Oh right, that fellow who looks like Rong Bing, you have to remember that you owe me once. If I want to return it in the future, I want a big gift." After saying that, with a smile, he left with the two old men. Looking at Enoch's departing back, Nian Bing couldn't help but smile and said, "Brother, you really found a happy sister-in-law." Rong Bing helplessly shook his head and said, "She grew up in the emperor's family and was extremely doted on by Emperor Huatian. Naturally, she doesn't know what is worry and what is sorrow. She's always like a child." Unknowingly, his tone revealed a trace of doting. Nian Bing went forward and held Feng Nu's hand. Seeing that she was a little absent-minded, her heart couldn't help but ache and said, "They didn't make things difficult for you, right? Are you hurt?" Feng Nu shook her head and said, "Elder Kong and the rest just arrived and you rushed back. I'm fine. Brother Rong Bing, thank you for this time." Rong Bing smiled and said, "What are you thanking me for? Sister-in-law, you can rest assured and stay here. As long as I'm here, no one will dare to hurt you. This is the capital city, unlike other places. I think that they won't come again." Feng Nu sighed softly and said, "I can't stay here with Nian Bing forever. Elder Feng Kong and the rest won't give up." Nian Bing tightened Feng Nu's hand and said, "Don't worry. As long as I'm here, they won't take you away.